We're live.
We are live.
It's got electrolytes.
Yes, it does. This is no color.
How are you guys doing today?
I'm doing great. Things are going great. Really, they are. Everything's lining up. But my name's Sammy, of course. I'm back again. I'm staying.
Hello, it's Blake.
Welcome back to No Color Podcast. This is Darius, back again.
Hi, how are you? It's Hunter, back for another episode, you guys.
And this is
Dr. Trevor Cook, podcast virgin, first podcast.
Yes.
Popping that cherry.
Yeah, Jerry.
Hopefully it's been a good time so far.
Yeah, for the past 3 minutes, it's been awesome.
That's
Yeah.
good. That's good. But yeah, we have to do a couple of sponsors. Who wants to say?
This is brought to you by Peachtree Farms. Peachtree
Always.
Farms, located in, what is it? What is
Eolia.
it?
Eolia.
Pike County.
Yep, Pike County, Missouri.
They got, what do they have? Hay rides.
Hay rides.
Fresh
they have
fruit.
Haunted
fruits.
trails.
They have the fruit shows.
Organic farming.
Yes. Pumpkin patches. Christmas trees. I think you already said that.
Beautiful scenery.
Airbnb
And
cottage.
yeah, eventually Airbnb. I know that's
Definitely
Swan
good spirits.
Lakes, you know.
it's a beautiful time. Go there and you will feel completely
Are those swans?
zenned out.
Yeah.
Oh, they're Geese Island. There's a difference between birds. I'm sorry. Don't stone me.
Get out of this city.
Yeah. But yeah, you should go there sometime, especially during Halloween and Christmas season.
Yes.
It's always
Yeah.
and it's just always a good time. So yes. And we always have their contact information like right here or something. Or right here on this side. Right there. Probably right next to his head. No, I'm just kidding. I'm gonna cover up his face. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, did you want to maybe introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
I'm Trevor Cook, Dr. Trevor Cook. I'm St. Louis transplant from Texas. Came over here. I'm living in downtown right now, working down there, and as you all might know, in Creve Coeur.
Yes.
I specialize in urgent care, which is kind of like a inexpensive ER that if you kind of have a small issue, you don't you don't have to wait, 5 to 8 hours where you actually are, and you come in, get seen a lot quicker, and it won't be quite as expensive. So
Yeah.
that's what we need.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
we need that for people. That
Yeah.
it's very convenient.
Very convenient.
Because
Yeah,
I know I've gone to
essential.
many virgin care.
Yeah.
I've heard horror stories of just people going in for like stupid things, and they say they haven't left for 24 hours, just for I don't know, sutures or something like that. That would take like an hour.
Oh
Wow.
wow.
So yeah, it's a good niche, and it's kind of what America needs with all of this stuff. So.
For real.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, were you originally from Texas?
Well, I moved around a lot when I was younger. My dad was a physician assistant, and I grew up pretty much on the floors of hospitals.
Okay, did that inspire
and
you?
ERs, yeah. And so my dad kind of taught me most of what I know.
Wow.
And from then, I went and I became an EMT with the ambulances and
Okay.
stuff. And I did my pre-med, and then I went to med school, and now I'm here.
Wow.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
That's awesome.
So was there anything interesting you had to do during med school?
Tons of things, yeah. Anything from cadavers. We had a cadaver. Got to take someone's brain and heart, lungs out, and stuff like
Oh,
that.
wow.
Do you think it changed you after your first?
I remember, because I don't get really squeamish around blood or something like that. It's just been something that I've never really done. But I remember not being able to eat meat and stuff like that afterwards.
Oh yeah. Do you not eat meat?
I do. I'm from Texas. It's a religion, but but after a while, I'd have to have a grace period after that, because it's this is us. We're
Yeah.
tissues and muscles and stuff. So, but I was always first on the cadavers because I like seeing the organs.
Yeah, that's cool.
That is really
And just seeing patients and all the fun, I don't want to say fun, but interesting diseases and stuff like that. Never gets old.
It's something new probably every single day.
Every day.
Yeah.
Literally every day.
One small thing that I don't know patients don't really think about too much is doctors kind of like geek out about diseases. When I first was doing it, it almost sounds a little immoral of like, oh, you're wanting harm, but you're not. You're just wanting to learn. And I actually talked to a professor about that, and he's like, no, you can want to learn this because the more you know, the more you can help people, and vice versa. But I always compare it to doctors kind of nerd out. Me and my doctors kind of nerd out. Like it's almost like collecting Pokemon cards. Yeah. We get together. We have these morning reports, and then we usually have one big speech, and then afterwards we're like, oh, we saw this today. Oh yeah, that's really rare. Yeah, that's a good one. You're not going to see that again.
What is the the rarest thing, the weirdest thing that you've come across?
Well,
you're at an urgent care.
Well, you'd be surprised because the wait times and the expenses of an ER are so high that people will come in for things that they should
Go to the ER for.
They should probably go to the ER for.
Oh my god.
Let's see. My friend pulled a bullet out of somebody, but it wasn't just shot. It was 20 years old.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So they just decided one day, wow, I should probably get this out.
Leave that
It got infected.
Oh.
So
Where
and
was it at?
he didn't want to go in. It was in the arm, and it was there for 20 years. Yeah.
Do you think it's just by chance it got infected, or do you think something caused it?
I don't know. I saw pictures because not of the patient. We just take small little captures, and we usually use it through encrypted texts and stuff like that. But I saw pictures, and it looked pretty bad. So he pulled it out, and the bullet was like banana peeled out, like a cartoon, you would imagine.
Yeah.
It's crazy. They design bullets to do that just to intentionally cause more harm.
Yeah. So maybe it was a hunting one. I don't know.
It could have been, or I don't know if it's called a ballistic or an FMJ, Full Metal Jacket, I think is what it's called, when they split.
So.
Oh.
And I didn't know this, but if there's no damage to the nerves or tissues or anything, a lot of surgeons will just leave it in because you might cause more damage just trying to cut it open and pull it out. So, yeah.
Wow.
Urgent care.
Urgent care.
Yesterday, I sent someone to the ER because they were having a heart attack. Chest pain for 2 weeks.
Oh.
Well, the potential heart attack, but I looked at the EKG and I was like, oh, yeah, you gotta go.
How can you tell if someone's having a heart attack?
Well, that gets a little bit more complicated, but there's these the little thing that goes like this. One of those intervals is between one called the S and the T, and when that goes up or down in multiple leads, you start thinking, wait a second, yeah.
Okay.
So it's called a STEMI, ST elevation MI, or an IN-STEMI, one that doesn't elevate. Sometimes they go down. So I saw that yesterday. I was like, so I called an ambulance and I got him over there.
Wow.
I need to follow up on him actually.
Yeah. Do you follow up on a lot of your
Oh
a lot
yeah.
of patients?
It's really important to follow up because, especially with these more complex or I don't know, scary ones, or especially children and stuff like that. Because one, it's just good due diligence as a doctor, but two, it's also good to know how your treatment did and what you could do better in the future.
How has the coronavirus affected you guys or your office?
Well, it's really surprising, but doctors were actually kind of hit too with ours. Because people who were coming in for things that were quote unquote minor, or what they thought was minor, which probably wasn't that minor for some, but they were completely scared of urgent cares, hospitals, anything like that. So they just didn't come in. So that decreased the patient volume and that decreased hours and stuff like that. But now they're coming back up.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Seems like
That's crazy.
everyone's
Everyone's just like, nope.
they're
I'm not
pretending
going.
it's not there nowadays.
They're just like, oh,
Yeah.
How did you
Yeah.
feel about the coronavirus? Like, your thoughts on it?
Well, it's a mess.
Because I remember going to urgent care like in the
Yeah.
beginning, and one of the doctors was like saying it's not a big deal at all, and he was like just like basically saying that it's all. I'm not saying I necessarily. I don't know. I just know one doctor did say.
Well, the thing about COVID is its infection rate. Because people are like, oh, it has less death rate or an equal death rate to the flu. But imagine if you get the flu, you go to a hospital, they see you, you're really sick, but you go to the ICU, you get a ventilator, and then you get better, and then you move on with life. It sucked, but you lived pretty much. But imagine if you go to the hospital and you have something that has the same death rate, but the infection rate's higher. So everyone's at the hospital. Everyone's looking for those ventilators. Everyone's just stressing all the workers out and stuff like that. That's what the whole flattening the curve is for, to make sure that stays down. But the way that viruses work is it's normal one day, and then the exponential growth kicks in and skyrockets up. And that's why this is so dangerous. Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
So we're not quite done with the first wave, by the way.
So I was like, then, like the second wave's here. I'm like, the first one.
Yeah, I was like, is it over?
It's more like stage 2 of 1.
Yeah.
1.2. So, yeah. So it's still there. We did get a little breathing time, but I feel like everyone might lock down again. I don't know.
Oh wow!
We'll see.
Again, for like how long are you thinking?
I don't know. I mean,
there.
this is just speculation of what I've seen, but it's possible in the next 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks, we could do the same thing.
It's because it's not. Isn't it because it's not like nothing's changed? Kind of. It's like things have gotten worse or the same.
We did an okay job at flattening the curve, especially in St. Louis.
Oh yeah.
But people are getting more antsy. We're very social creatures. People are wanting to get out, and the economy is suffering as well. Which, I mean, people don't think about this too. Is that a poor economy is very deadly in itself, because from the ages of I mean, this is a podcast, so you can check my findings, but from the ages of like 20 to like 40, the most likely person to kill you is you. It's suicide. So economic hardship increases suicide rates, and that can be deadly as well. Sorry, I'm getting...
No, I like that.
Also, speaking on that, they were saying during the lockdown, like domestic violence, like increased because there were people who were stuck in the house with their spouses or whoever.
Yeah.
And
Or their abuser.
yeah.
Oh my gosh, I really, honestly, I didn't even think about that, which
Yeah.
is selfish of me, but I didn't even think about people getting locked up with
With the
They're
person they're trying to get away from, like
Yeah.
right when they
Wow.
Like for some kids, like school or wherever they go for the day away from their home is their
Is their
escape.
safe haven.
Yeah, and they don't have that right now.
So in return, we're going to send a link of if you are experiencing this, if you are locked down with a person who is abusive to you, or whether that be verbally or physically, we will include that link, and you can.
Yes, thank you for saying that.
Of course.
Most definitely.
What's your take on the mask?
I was just,
The mask?
yes.
I love that movie.
She doesn't want to wear one right now, but she says like just about carbon monoxide, like poisoning or something like that.
Oh. Well,
You think it's bad to wear one all day? Like if she's at work, she has to wear hers like
Mhm.
8 hours.
That's how, yeah, and I feel like that's
She's
not
working at a
good to
restaurant,
do.
too.
Well, there's different masks. There's the thin paper one. I think I have one in my pocket right now. That one's not going to cause too much carbon dioxide issues. The N95, the one that completely covers your mask.
Like the circular one?
Yeah, and it like is glued to your face like a face hugger, and it doesn't have the valve, the one-way valve. That feels like you're walking at like 10,000 feet. So I imagine that you would be rebreathing it, but I don't think it would be deadly because your body has compensation mechanisms, like you can pee it out or whatever, and change the acid base levels. No, I don't think so. I think it's still safer. I use one with a one-way valve, and those work a lot better. Although it doesn't protect people with infection rates that way as well, unless it's pointed down, which mine is. But you could switch to those. I like those better, and it doesn't feel like you're breathing through a snorkel or something.
What about people working out with masks on at gyms?
They do that.
I saw a picture of a surfer,
That's too.
and I was like, I don't think he's gonna infect anybody. But no, I'm always for masks.
Yeah.
I think that it'll be more better if everyone wears them. Those studies pretty much come from they measured countries that do have masks all the time, every time, versus that don't, and the infection rates were significantly lower.
I heard a case here in St. Louis. There was 2 hairdressers, and they worked at Great Flips, and they were both showing symptoms for a couple of days, but they were continuing to work. And every day they were having like around 70 to 90 customers cutting their hair, but as far as I know, no one was actually infected by them because everybody was wearing masks and properly distancing.
It helps.
Yeah, so that's just like one little case where they really did work.
Also about the people training with, working out with masks. A lot of runners do that for endurance.
Oh.
So like people who train in the Olympics, they'll put like a mask on and run, so that when they don't have the mask on, it's like.
Or they'll go train like at higher elevations. Very similar.
You were like, I can't wear it. Oh yeah, what do you think about those cards that people have like when they try and walk into like a grocery store or like?
Yeah. Well, they can try. But
Yeah.
I don't know.
Are those real or those just?
I just actually saw on the internet those, but I don't know if that's really a medical question. That's more of a legal question.
What is it?
Yeah, what is
And
So-
I don't know.
They have like these little
You can-
cards, and on it says they're protected under something, but they don't have to wear a mask because of medical reasons.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's like a huge.
I had a
thing.
customer a couple of weeks ago who said that she medically could not wear a mask.
I mean, if you're just gonna be in a store for like a couple minutes.
I knew someone. It wasn't a patient. Outside my building, and they said they couldn't wear a mask because it really messed up their breathing. But they were sitting there chain smoking, and I'm like, and I looked at him like,
Okay, sir.
What kind
and
of
they realized, oh right, he's a doctor. Yeah, I know. I'm trying to do that.
are there any medical reasons for why someone can't wear a mask? Like, what would be an example?
Those light masks, probably you'd be okay. Maybe in a world where you're like allergic to the material.
Okay.
But I imagine they make all kinds of materials.
Yeah, I
So
would think.
I think that they'd be okay.
Yeah.
I think it's also really important that you have to think about the context. If you're just out in an open field or something like that, then you don't need to wear a mask because you're not around anybody. Like the restrictions in Missouri was still saying that you could go hike and all that stuff. When I went hiking, I would literally just get 6 feet off the trail, let the person pass, and then get back on. I think that that's important, that people actually think of how it's helping besides just that it's helping. When I was in the park, I saw someone with a ski mask. I'm like, that's not gonna do it. I almost wanted to stop her and be like, hey, I'm just trying to help you here. It's covering your face, your eyes, that's not gonna help you.
Oh my god.
Like ski goggles. So,
Wow.
Wait, they didn't think about
Sense of
the
some
mask, like it's an air pump, and when you're eating, like it opens, and then you put food in
I
it,
saw that.
and then you release it, and it closes. I'm like,
What's the point of that?
just take it out.
For real. Whenever you're at a restaurant, you're far away from anyone that you don't want to be by.
Some
They
restaurants-
have
Some
rules.
restaurants have.
Bubbles.
Oh,
They're
oh.
doing like every table's in a little bubble.
What? That's.
I'd be okay with
That'd be
that.
kinda
If
cool,
they did
though.
that for the rest, I would be like, okay,
That would
give
be
me my
kinda
bubble.
cool
I want to
because
go in
then
that
you
bubble. Right
and you would have like your own conversations. No one would be in on your conversations. It'd
Yeah.
be more private.
Saw that on the
And if you have a
internet.
big party, you just gotta expand your bubble.
we should definitely keep a lot of these rules that we're making now. Like,
Yeah, they're
Yes.
not bad. Like they're
They're
not
not-
bad
it
rules.
Already should have been.
Yeah.
Because I went to a restaurant the other day for the first time in just a long time. I really don't eat out that much. And I went, and I'm just like, wow, this is kind of gross to think about. People are just, you're eating, you're like,
Mhm.
all right, done, touching the table,
Yep.
and it's like, whoa, menu,
Yeah.
who knows?
Ooh, I never
And-
thought about menu leaks because they don't
Yeah.
like they like will spray the menu. So when I worked at a
Yeah, I was
restaurant,
gonna say I work at a restaurant.
yeah, and like when they tell you to clean the menu, they have like this rag, and then you just like
That you
Yeah.
reuse the rag over.
What?
yeah, it's
Mo-
like,
What says
Mo-
that?
almost all restaurants right now are using paper menus though.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so they just
yeah,
throw them away.
mine's using paper.
I hope they're recycling them.
Yeah, which is
But probably
really-
not.
I feel like that should definitely be something that comes up too. Recycling should be
Essential,
mandatory.
yeah, for
Especially
businesses.
at restaurants and like with wasted food. That
Or like
is-
offices, you know how much
Yeah,
like paper
paper.
some places really
I
go
feel like
through.
a lot of offices I have noticed they usually do recycle, but like a lot of restaurants, they need to have like compost areas. They need to
Mhm.
have like extra food,
Food
like food
donations.
drives. Yeah, like
I think
it's crazy.
that's so. I was just sitting here listening, and like he said that lady was complaining about she couldn't breathe, but then like no one cares about like the climate. Like you literally won't be able to breathe
Yeah.
anywhere.
Yeah.
Like
Because the
there's
climate's gonna be horrible.
Then you're gonna really have to wear a mask inside. Like, no medical excuse.
yeah.
Because
Yeah.
if you take it off, your medical problems will get even worse.
Yep.
That's crazy. It's like a cycle. Like I feel like everyone just needs to work together so that we all
Yep.
can like move on.
Right now we are definitely divided as a country.
Yeah.
Yes,
Unlike
horribly.
and like we're not gonna get anywhere by being like that. Like
No.
it's-
There needs to be compromise on both sides.
Mhm.
There needs to stop being so many different sides. Yeah, sides of things. Like
And
so much
less
control.
violence.
yes.
Yes.
Violence is not the answer. I mean, I know it gets attention, but that's not the right kind of attention.
Mhm.
Or yeah, violence in general.
Protests, those if you wanna, stand your ground, that's something that
And then some
gets
people
attention.
they say that we've tried peacefulness, we've tried, being passive, and they're done with it. They're ready to get
Well, you don't
violent,
have to
but
be
that's still.
passive while you're protesting.
I understand, like you can be frustrated and feel like you're beaten down, but still, it's not a very good answer.
because then it's just giving them a reason to actually
Yeah.
put you in a shittier position,
Mhm.
and they can't get in trouble for it because you gave them a reason to.
Well, they're gonna do that anyway,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of violence. But that's just on period. I'm sorry. Cold hard truth. But yeah, a lot of that crazy stuff is going like literally 2020. I
I
said
fucking
this.
loved it though.
I said this
Before
last
Already even
year.
started. 2020 is gonna be something.
Yeah, before we were sitting in this room before
Yep.
New Year's, and I was like,
Watch
I don't know. Maybe I manifested this into the existence. Into the universe. I don't know. I'm sorry if I did. Everybody, I'm sorry. But I was like, 2020 is just gonna be a year of like people like opening their eyes, realizing, and chaos.
Mhm.
And I was like, maybe I'm just like overthinking.
Like Vision 2020.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep.
Because
Yeah.
when things get brought up from the veil, bad things have to happen to try to cover it back up.
And then now we're in the middle of it. I'm like,
Hey, but at least we're alive to talk about
Sure.
it.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah,
I mean? Like
sure.
we're the ones that can make the change.
We're gonna be
We're
like,
not just the outsiders that are like, oh wow, I wish I was there to help. No,
Yeah.
now we're here
Yeah.
and we can help.
Yeah, I actually live off Washington, so the whole place was just looted and ransacked and all that stuff. My place was fine.
Was
but,
it scary?
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was very war zone like, very like big phalanxes of police officers and military guard going down Washington, and tear gas, and every once in a while they would drop a bomb. Well, it's like these little tear gas bomb things, just to clear the streets.
And it is a loud noise when you heard it.
It's a boom.
Wow, that's.
It's a big boom.
Living down
Yeah.
there, do you hear a lot of gunshots at all?
Well, right now it's all fireworks, but no, not really. There's been one or two times where it was possible, but not too bad.
Yeah, that's good.
That's
Yeah.
good.
They're really good to hear.
I'm like one of the strange people that really like living downtown. I don't know why.
Hey, downtown's
I would
cool though.
love
It is.
to.
I like- Well, I used to live in Chicago, and it's like an inexpensive Chicago, which is
Yeah,
nice.
Chicago is so expensive,
Yeah.
but it is really nice.
It is cool.
hmm
That would be so cool to live downtown.
The city is really cool. There's a
Yeah.
lot down there.
It's very diverse.
And lots
Yeah.
of opportunities, I feel
So
like.
many opportunities.
And food. I
Yes.
went running by the arch today. It was,
Oh,
it was
that's
good.
good.
Yeah.
Nice.
I love, like, when I first moved here, I was like, what is this place? Like, I learned to love it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, it's beautiful in its own little way.
Mm-hmm. It really is.
The Eads Bridge is nice too. No one appreciates the Eads Bridge, but I'm like, that's a cool bridge. It's the first iron bridge ever, or a steel bridge ever made ever in the world.
I didn't know
That's
that.
Eads
cool.
Bridge?
Yeah,
That's
Well,
my
yeah.
family's last name.
and like all these steel bridges in this world started with that bridge
That's
Oh,
cool.
off
wow.
Washington, and people just drive across it. It's not fun. It's like
That's
the
with
first.
a lot of things too. People just
We forget about
overlook it.
history.
It's like, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
It's like people take a lot of stuff for granted.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
It's good to just, step back and soak it all
Be
in.
mindful. It's not that hard.
Oh, I had a question. So we had a guy on the podcast. He went by Mr. T, and
Okay.
It's the
he
tea.
believes eating raw meat is the way to go, and he eats all raw animal products. He's been doing this for a year. He there's just. We just want to know how do you
Anything
feel?
from like
Well,
And
butter
so when he was on the
to
podcast, he came with a briefcase. There was raw meat in a mason jar. He had a tub of raw butter,
raw cheese.
raw
Raw
cheese, and
cheese.
honey, and he would just like scoop out the raw meat, take a clump of butter, and then squirt the
Yeah.
honey in his
And he would leave it out for a day or two too, without refrigerating.
like
refrigerating.
Well, it depends on the meat.
Every kind.
Obviously, like things like fish and stuff like that are different beasts because of sushi and sashimi
Mm-hmm.
and all that stuff. But as we evolved, we did something weird that other animals didn't do. We evolved with our inventions, and we evolved with the ability to cook and process meat, and stick it over a fire, get all the bacteria and stuff off, eat it, and go from there. Where our guts are not like tigers or something like that, where they can just go eat something and then and then they'll be just fine because of all the normal flora. We at some point switched over to needing to cook our meat, most of the meats anyway, and so normal everyday average Joe probably most definitely should cook their meat thoroughly, especially since there's like bacteria, like there's a strain of E. coli that can cause like bloody I don't know
Bloody
how
stool?
rated this is. Bloody diarrhea that can kill you and kills kids quite often.
Wow.
So I'm against it. However, I would imagine if you ate it for a very, very long time, the body does adapt. And so maybe if you trained yourself, you could do it, but you're putting way too much risk.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
He even said that too.
Yeah, his goal is to get a tapeworm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like a couple foot long parasite.
Weight loss?
Oh, look.
Oh, I was gonna say he said he wants to do that because
Misogynist, I think that's.
Yeah.
Or is that the doctor's
I
name?
think so.
Or something?
But he said he wants to do that because if he gets the tapeworm, it'll, I guess, cleanse his stomach fully, and he'll never have stomach problems
Yeah.
after the tapeworm is out.
Well, there's also worms that eat your brain.
Mhm.
So
That's what it does. It goes up your brain and just makes you go crazy.
neurocysticosis or something like that. Yeah, it turns it into like a sponge.
Wow.
So
Not the good kind that
Yeah.
serves of knowledge.
there's a lot of risk there. Yeah.
And he said the only time to eat like raw meat is if it's just barely cooked. He said whenever it's in its most, because he said he gets it all natural whenever he has the meat. There's no preservatives, nothing in it. But he said what gives you cancer
It's
and
the
like
cooked meat.
the gross stuff is whenever if you just barely cook it.
Well,
Or if you
he's somewhat right-ish with certain cancers. The polycarbons in like smoked meats, like gas and stuff like that has been known to cause certain types of esophageal and gastric cancers.
Wow.
So that's true. But you could also catch, H. pylori, and that causes cancer too. Like just normal cooked right off the grill and stuff like that, unless you're going way overboard and not moderating at all, your risk is relatively low.
So I guess on a different spectrum, how do you feel about people being vegans or
Like
vegetarian?
even raw, like a raw vegan, someone
Yeah.
who's
Yeah.
completely raw, non-cooked.
And obviously keeping up with their protein and making sure they have all of their.
I mean,
groups.
from a sustainability point of view, there's no arguing that eating vegetables is better for the environment, because the amount of food that you have to make and all that stuff goes into the beef or the whatever, chicken, and then you eat it and it's not very efficient. I heard a new term. I don't know if y'all have heard it, but I've heard a term called sustainitarian. No?
Oh,
yeah.
that's cool.
Where you just eat like sustainable foods. Yeah, I mean it doesn't really matter what it is. It's most of the time it's vegetables, but it's saying that I'm not really worried about all that other stuff. I'm more worried about the environment, so that's what I choose to eat. I kind of like that one.
Yeah.
But to go back to your original question, as long as you're monitoring your B12, which is very important, and your iron levels and stuff like that, then just go ahead, choose it.
What kind of meat would be? Sorry.
Oh, I was gonna say, what about a fruitarian? Now, would you consider that being safe?
Like all fruit?
Yeah, all fruits and seeds.
Well, I imagine you wouldn't be getting a lot of things that you'd want. And keep in mind that fruit's good for you, and fruit's is a lot better than for you, say like a candy bar or something like that. But fruit's really high in sugar. Like, I mean, the sugar content, the fructose content of fruit is crazy, and so. It's a little bit too much sugar for me, not enough other nutrients.
Do you think
Balance is the key for me.
Do you think if you were on a fruitarian diet and eating like just less of the sugary fruits and more of the more savory kinds, like jackfruit or avocados, tomatoes, or more?
Maybe. I imagine jackfruit and avocados. I guess. Yeah. I'd have to look to see what's not in fruit. Like folate is in crucious vegetables and stuff like that, and that can cause a whole bunch of problems as well. And there's other things like magnesium and calcium and stuff like that that's typically found more in proteins. I'd have to look, but of course, if you just took supplements and actually monitored it, I probably wouldn't worry that much.
How do you feel about supplements? Because there's kind of like a rave that some people say they're really bad for you. Some people say
they don't even work.
Well, it depends on the supplement.
It
Yeah.
depends.
What's in it?
If you go to a doctor and they say you're low in something and tell you to take it, then that's good. And there's a lot of people who have like anemia and stuff like that they're just not getting enough in their diet. But if you have a normal, balanced, healthy diet, then if you take a supplement, 90% of the time you're just paying for expensive urine.
That's hilarious.
Because it just it flushes right out. You get your daily amount through your food, and then it flushes right out and it turns fun colors and stuff like that.
Okay, that's funny because that's actually happened to me before because I accidentally, I put one of my, okay, so I had a B12 like vitamin or whatever, and it
Yeah.
fell into my drink and I didn't notice. And then I actually drank like almost half, and I was like, this tastes like crap. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is a supplement. I had a drink today.
Then you're bouncing off the walls the whole
Yeah,
day.
it was, I was like, oh god, that's probably not good.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Something I have a question about. How do you feel, working with like pharmaceuticals and stuff? How do you feel about it? And,
Big
like
pharma.
Just the big pharma.
Well, it's mixed bag. You definitely get the Skrellies and stuff like that of the world. The Skrelly is the guy who jacked up the prices of some life-saving drug. I actually can't remember the drug, but
Truvada.
Was it Truvada? I'm not sure. And
Hell yeah.
but you get that, and he actually has a Skrelly Awards named after him, which is a list of when pharmacy just does terrible stuff, and they make
they
an
award
award
them for
system.
it.
It's like the Razzies, but for pharmacy. But
We're getting an inside scoop right now.
but you're probably more talking about like the relationship between pharmaceutical representatives and doctors. And I kind of have a mixed review about him because I always like to gain knowledge in, the system and how it works and how the body works and how these molecules connect. And usually the farm reps are the people, they spend their entire life learning like 2 drugs, so they know it really well. And they can explain the system and how it works and how, and how it improves. So a lot of times I'll sit down and I'll do that with them. But my clinic doesn't deal with pharmacy reps much.
How do you feel about like the pharmaceuticals compared to natural remedies? And
It depends. I do like some natural remedies for some things, but the problem with that is, one, they never tell the doctor what they're taking. So you can get, like St. John's wort is a good example because it increases serotonin and can be used as a way for major depressive disorder. But number one is there's no regulation between how much the dosage is.
Mm-hmm.
So the vitamin and supplement companies can be just as greedy and just as messing with the results of studies and all that stuff to sell their supplements as the pharmacy companies. So they don't have blood. They aren't as clean as everyone else thinks that they are. And 2 is they won't tell the doctor, and the doctor gives something that also increases serotonin, and then you get something called serotonin syndrome, and now the person's in danger. That's a big mess too. So it depends. I have a few remedies that I suggest. Elderberry is one of my favorites. Yeah. But a lot of people put zinc in it, which I'm not a fan of because it can cause permanent anosmia. It stops your smell. But
Wow.
Taylor? Taylor has no sense of smell.
That's what he has.
yeah, does he take a lot of zinc?
He did when he was younger because I think he had like bad asthma or something.
But elderberry, when taken by itself and in moderation and at the right time, especially when a doctor tells you can be better than taking, I don't know, like the flu medications in pharmacy. I'm a big fan of it. Right?
What's your opinion on Xarelto?
Xarelto. Man, you're gonna remind me. I'm urgent care.
Oh, it's like a high blood pressure medicine.
Oh,
but
I stick with
know
the classics.
once you are on it, you have to take it for the rest of your life.
Well, that's true. That's true with a lot of high blood pressure medications. Not necessarily if the person gets on a diet. The DASH diet is awesome. It's fruits, nuts, whole grains, and legumes. DASH diet is awesome, and exercise regimen, 30 minutes a day, every day until you die. And if people get on those 2 and decrease salt and all that, then they can eventually get off of high blood pressure medications. But changing someone's mind about diet and exercise is not an easy task.
Let's go into
Oh,
Every-
Like, I can't do that.
yeah. They're
But
like,
you
just give me a
can.
pill. I'm like, nope, sorry.
Really.
You gotta do these medications. I just stick with the classics though because I'm mostly in urgent care.
Yeah.
But and then I give them like a 5-minute talk on like I don't know, yeah, like leg exercises decreases and stuff like that.
Just like self-care, just take
Mhm.
care
Yeah.
of yourself.
Self-care really is a good remedy.
And like
Yeah.
after this whole like COVID thing going around, I know a lot of people are having like trust issues with some doctors just because there's been so many things bounced around. How do you know like if you can trust a certain, you know what I mean? Like, cause you know some doctors are just out there to
Make money.
make money and just
Yeah.
cash out on it. So how can you tell if you're going?
Well,
to
I
the
think
place?
rapport is the answer with that one. If they sit down, they make eye contact, they talk about these things that are not just like a pill or procedure, you know. If they call you up, if they if they actually like spend the time to explain things, or if they're efficient on not just time because sometimes everyone has a schedule, but if they take the energy to tell you things and look at you in the eye and you know, present by name, that is a bigger indicator than anything, I think, in my opinion.
Do you have an opinion on like doctors like signing with pharmacies or companies to prescribe certain drugs? Like they'll make money if they
Like
prescribe
opioids and shit.
certain
Yeah.
drugs.
Not a fan.
Yeah.
Because now all those like things are coming on the TV. Like if you have an opioid
Mhm.
addiction, you can have lifelong pay because you're basically screwed.
Well, the people who sell the opioid addiction medications are also the people who sell the opioids. So
Mhm.
they're getting you coming and going.
Yeah.
So, our clinic doesn't use that much opioids. Very, very rarely. We usually try to stick to more natural remedies. Physical therapy is amazing.
Mhm.
Yeah. Evidence-based physical therapy is.
And like I feel like urgent cares, they just seem like the way you're talking that they're more precise and I feel like they care more.
Personable.
Are you allowed to have like an actual doctor there? You know what I mean? Like that you have regular checkups with, or is
Like
it
a
more
primary
just
doctor?
yeah? Or is it more
We
just-
used to do primary care, but the insurance companies got in our way and told us we couldn't do that anymore, which is a real bummer because I still like to do a little bit of primary care.
Mm-hmm.
But what we're getting with COVID a lot of times is all the primary cares in the city just stop taking patients. But it's like, not all of them, but a vast majority of them.
Yeah.
So there's people coming in like, hey, I need high blood pressure medication.
Mhm.
Where do I get it? Or like, I need my antidepressants. Where do I get
See,
it?
that's another thing. It's like this happening. It's kind of opening people's eyes. Like maybe I should try to do other ways to cope with certain, like with depression and anxiety. Like
Mhm.
yes, it is a cool thing that you can just take a pill and you feel better. But if something like this happens, what if it never comes back? What if the people that are making it for us get mad at the United States, or you know what I mean, or don't want to do it anymore? And
Mm-hmm.
Well,
people
I
are just
usually have a 30-70 rule. Is change is usually 30% medication, 70% lifestyle change.
Mhm.
Your example of depression, mindfulness training
Yep.
is
Meditation.
just a fantastic way to decrease stress and like deal with your problems. Yeah, and even psychologically, I have a big 5 with it, which is mindfulness, eating right, exercise, sleeping right, and I forgot the other one. Sleeping right and oh man, I can't remember. It was
Do what you love every day.
What'd you say?
oh right, social.
Oh
Yeah,
wow. Okay.
yeah. There you go.
I read your mind.
Go and talk to people outside, or in the case of COVID, on a computer or something.
Mhm.
Just be a social creature at least once a week.
Yes. And I think getting outside, like
Yeah.
that's one thing that is a little freaky about the COVID. Everyone wants to stay inside, but being outside is so important.
Nature therapy is a real
Like
thing.
that is so
Mhm.
important for anyone and everyone.
Parks and Rec.
6 feet away, wear a mask.
Yes.
Get off the trail. So
It does help. Like even like people who have depression, like exercise. Like when I was younger, I was diagnosed with clinical depression, and I was just this kid who just sat in his room, who didn't do anything. We played video games sometimes, but did not like going outside. And the doctor was like, well, we can tackle two birds with one stone. We could either have you exercise and take this medicine, or basically just have me take the medicine and just continue my whatever.
Your routine, what
Yeah.
you're doing it though.
And my mom stepped in and she was like, no. She's like, he needs to be outside, he needs to go talk to people. And that actually helped because I actually stopped taking the medicine. I just started joining sports and like getting up in the morning and just walking and running, and it helped a lot.
Yeah.
I feel like.
We're just a big vat of chemicals.
Mm-hmm.
I look at depression from like a two-way street. It's either the chemicals can change you, which changes how you interact with your environment, which leads to depression, or the other way is that your environment changes the chemicals and how you think in your brain, and then that leads to depression.
Wow.
Does that
But
make
it all
sense?
depends
Yeah.
on you. It all depends on
Yes.
you, basically.
Yeah.
Get yourself out of that headspace or that environment.
So
It's
like
up to you.
depression causes something called psychomotor lethargy, which just means you want to sit on the couch, do nothing all day, every day.
That's a big word for that.
Yeah, and medications can kind of calm that down, so you can start making those steps like sports and stuff like that and social interactions. If you like photography, go join a photography thing. If you like
Most
knitting,
definitely. Writing helps a lot.
yeah.
What's your opinion on universal healthcare?
I am a fan.
So I know you said earlier that like you had to call a guy that was like maybe having a heart attack, and but some people they probably maybe came to where you were to not have an ambulance or
Yeah.
because they can't afford this.
Yeah. And that is a shame because that ambulance that he probably had was, I don't know, anywhere from $500 to $1,000,
Yes.
$500 to
That's
$1,000 for
That's
the
too
15,
much.
20 minutes.
Was an expensive
You
Uber.
probably had called an ambulance maybe. Or-
Yeah, and also there's dangers of patients with heart problems or brain problems or something like that getting into their car and driving. If he went to VTAC or VFib or his heart just gave out on him and he ran into a group of people, then the doctor who gave him the okay to do so wouldn't be that great. And also, it's a patient safety thing too, because if something happens in that environment, then the EMS can do that. It's a necessary thing, but some
It's
people
too much money. Like
some people choose not to.
Some people say, I
Unfortunately.
mean, you gotta wait like months so you can like go see, just like for a checkup or anything. You can't just go like immediately.
No.
If you, yeah, it's, I feel like that's important too, to have universal, but also like immediately be able to get it taken.
Yeah. Well, urgent cares kind of alleviate that pretty well.
That's why I don't know, I guess there are
Comparatively.
urgent cares in other countries, but I've just heard that like
It's a
everything is
fairly
just,
American thing.
that's what I thought, yeah.
Yeah.
that's sad.
Because most of the time, the ERs don't have that crazy of a wait other places, or they just haven't caught on. But yeah, it's a fairly American thing, and it's still the cheapest option.
Because I've heard that people don't need a hip replacement, and they just gotta, you gotta wait.
Yeah,
And
Happened
you
to my
get on
grandma,
the
yeah.
list of the people
Yeah.
that
and we're the only industrialized nation in the world that doesn't have universal health care. And we pay more out of pocket for our health through taxes and premiums and deductibles than any other country in the world by far. So we're getting less for more, or more for less.
Yeah.
So it's a mess, and people are worried about wait times and all that stuff in other countries. But I don't know how. Maybe on a weekly basis, I get someone who's like, "Oh, I just started a job. the insurance doesn't kick in for a month and a half. Is there anything I can do until this?
I have friends that don't have insurance and they'll break a finger, whatever. They don't. Things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, the untold amount of people who their increased wait time is so much that they're not doing it at all is just insane in this country, hands down. Yeah. I especially, because I also have friends that come to me and they're like, what should I do?
I have kind of a really deep question, but do you believe there is, or do you think it's possible there's a cure for cancer? And
Well,
I'm glad you asked. For real.
that's a loaded question.
He said ratatouille.
We're making ratatouille, guys.
Oh, nice.
So saying the cure for cancer is not a great thing to say, because cancer is a lot like the Smithsonian in Washington. It's not one building; it's like multiple different things. Pretty much for every type of cell that there is in your body, there's a cancer that goes with that cell. So it's going to be a very slow. There's tons of cancers. We don't like to use the word cured. It's sustained remission, which is kind of morbid when you think about it, but that's how it goes. And there's a lot of cancers that are that have a very high rate of sustained remission, especially the leukemias in children. Very high rate. They get it. We fix it. They never get it again. But it's a step-by-step process of picking a cancer, figuring out how to beat that one, and then move on to the next one, or doing them slowly. But yeah, it would take some time, but I mean, people are working on it.
Yeah. Sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask. It's kind of off topic, kind of, but is there like any cure you think to epilepsy, like seizures, just completely just?
Tell me what
The neural.
Well, that's more of going into neurology, which I'm not quite there. I have had a few patients go into seizures on me.
Oh wow.
One, I was giving sutures, and then the needle was there.
the worst possible time.
Wow. Wait, how did you handle that situation?
I cut the string and then put her on her left side, and yeah. And
It
then
has to
just
be on the
held
left
out.
side.
Yeah, it's more important because the stomach's on the left.
Oh.
So because the gastric contents.
Yeah.
But don't put anything in their mouth.
Mhm.
Don't try to restrain them too much. You can kind of make sure that they're not like banging into things, but don't like bear hug them down to the ground. Just put them on the ground. Let them
their body.
do their thing. Most of the time it comes out. Call an ambulance as soon as possible. But
What are you talking about?
Hi, Normie.
Norman has some things he wants to say.
yeah. Well, I'm also an expert on Yorkies.
No. Oh wait.
I was a kennel manager for Yorkies for 8 years.
Oh, really?
He's a survivor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he really is. What about 3-4 years ago? My backyard neighbor, their dogs would just come under the fence and dig.
Yeah.
There was 3 of them. One of them, his name's Norman, by the way. There was like a wolf hybrid. Took a hold of his neck, ripped him to shreds,
Yeah.
and oh my gosh, his whole shoulder and back muscles were all hanging out and everything. It was terrible, but yeah.
But look at
he's
him
a survivor.
now.
He's like probably like his spirit animal, probably a cat. He has like 9 lives.
How old do you think he is?
Ooh, I don't know. I'd say 11.
Oh, okay. He's 14. Some people
Oh,
get
nice.
so like someone at Walmart was like, "Oh, he's 9 months." What?
That's like a little too young. That's like too young.
So not to get medical, but he was having an esophageal spasm, and you just rub right here and that's right.
Oh my gosh!
Wait, where do you rub at?
So wait, that's not him barking. That's him just like literally freaking out. So you just rub it and it'll make it go. How do you know if it's him barking or if it's him
Wow.
having? What's it called?
Okay, well that one might be a bark.
He does prepare himself to bark that way too.
Well, it might be
Is
a
that
little mix of both now.
Huh.
But yeah. You
He
want
also
to
he communicates.
Yeah, he can.
He communicates by barking to us too.
Don't squeal. I'm sorry. There you go.
Yeah, he does some grunts, some old man grunts. He's like,
Yeah.
food up
But
here.
how can you tell the difference if it's him barking or?
Well, he might have learned to do a little bit of both, but it sounds like a little bit of a spasm. Just rub the trachea a little bit, like this. I feel better.
He's probably like, wow,
Yeah, he's
thank
like,
Yeah, he's like, I like you.
He loves you. He's like, thank you.
Yeah.
It feels so good. Aw.
So, what were we talking about? I got distracted by the dog. Oh yeah. So right now we just have medications that are an everyday thing, and honestly, their side effects are just not fun. Like gingival hyperplasia, where your teeth stick out, and issues with the blood and stuff like that. So I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon because the brain's just a different beast.
Yeah. You said you haven't quite got to neurology, but what would you say your favorite part of the body is to work with?
That's so tough. The heart's really cool. I like working with the heart. It's one of the few organs that's very temporal. To know it, you just can't know it in place. You have to know it through a cycle. It repeats. So, like a quick cycle. Other ones have longer cycles, but yeah, I'd say the heart.
That's
and I
cool.
like EKG readings. You can tell so much, and they look like magic.
Oh, they look-
Oh, I had another question about
Are you done?
epilepsy. So, do you think, well, if you know it too, do you think a lot of the medication is a risk taker, even though it will help the seizures?
That is a risk versus benefit that has to be done with the physician, which is most likely going to be a neurologist, and that just depends. Because keep in mind, having an epileptic seizure, you can hit your head. You can be driving, you could be walking in the middle of the street. It can put your life at risk. So not treating it can be very deadly. But of course, if you've had one or two in your life, then you might want to get off, talk to your neurologist or the person who's doing it. Yeah.
Oh, I have another question too.
Go for it.
How do you feel about medical marijuana?
Medical marijuana. For it.
Marijuana.
So I think it is that 88,000 people die from alcohol intoxication, not just drunk driving and all that, but alcohol intoxication a year. 488, so that's 1,000, that's 500,000 a year from tobacco. And for marijuana, it's 0.
Yep.
So
The numbers are there.
I mean, there's still risks. It can increase your chance of having, if you have an increased risk of schizophrenia, then it can increase your risk even more. You shouldn't do it before 18 because their studies show that can decrease your IQ. I'm not saying you, I'm saying the general
No, I know. I'm
you
just saying
of
I
life.
did.
Is it true that you can cause psychosis?
Yeah. So, I don't know if causing is the right word, but it can increase the chances of having it. So there are risks, but I mean, if you take Xanax every day for a month and then go off of it, it can kill you.
This is not the way.
Like, you should know them. Obviously, don't drive with it. Treat it like alcohol. And there was a study that came out 2 weeks ago that it causes decreased fetal growth rate. So don't do it when you're pregnant. But besides that, it's a fairly safe drug. In fact, the person who was having a seizure, it's funny you bring that up actually. The person that I was talking about had a seizure, just moved, and she was getting drug tested for a job. She moved from some place where it was recreationally illegal, and she went off of it, and that was controlling her seizures, and it caused it.
Oh,
So,
wow.
Yeah. Loop back around. And yeah, I mean the support's crazy. 66% of Americans, 55% of Republicans, and John Boehner just came out saying that weed is the thing to go for. Oops. Is the
Yeah,
thing to
it's
invest
good.
in. And he was third in line for president 5 years ago. And Republican.
You said Republican.
So, and it's still legal on the federal level, so, or still illegal on the federal level, which is just crazy at this point.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, there's so many facts and people backing it up that
It's on the way. I just feel like there's a lot of people who are against it.
and
It
it's
just has
definitely
it has a
generational.
stigma.
It's generational. Ones.
It really
Yeah.
is.
Okay, boomer.
In a couple, in like 5 more years, we'll be good.
Yeah, it just has like a stigma around it that everyone who smokes weed is this type of way.
Yeah.
And that's not true.
That we're like that you get lazy, you don't want to do anything. But for a
That's
lot
up
of
to
people, for a lot of people, it actually helps with
Energy.
Your
So
imagination
definitely
and
not a bark
energy.
on that one.
Definitely, it's a
Anyway.
mixture of the strain and how much you smoke or
Yeah.
ingest. Not necessarily smoke, but how much you ingest.
Do you think eating it is better than smoking it? Obviously.
I would say yes, but smoking it hasn't really showed. You okay? Okay. So eating it is definitely better. If you light anything on fire and then inhale that fire, then it's not going to be super healthy comparatively on a small scale. If I took this cup and inhaled this cup, it wouldn't be good.
I don't
But
suggest that.
or this fruit, it
That
doesn't
would
matter.
probably hurt.
If it's made of something and it burns, there's a small amount of smoke that goes into your lungs. But the studies on COPD and CHF and all that stuff are showing that there's not that much of a difference between smoking. So with vapes, that's a whole nother story.
I was gonna
Still
say, how do you
hunting
feel
ground.
about vapes and
We all got
cigarettes?
one.
What's-
Yeah, we
what-
all, we all have one.
Sorry.
I feel like I'm
Sorry.
biased here.
No, it's okay.
I'm in the lion's den of vapes.
I hate.
It's up for grabs on whether it's better or not.
I feel like it's too new.
It's too
It is.
Yeah. You can't figure out the 20-year, effects of something 10 years after it's made.
I've heard people get like popcorn lungs,
Yeah.
what they call it, and stuff like that.
So, yeah, it's still up for grabs. Probably in moderation, it's probably not too bad. But the studies are just hard to tell right now.
And I heard like certain flavors are worse for you than with vaping anyways.
Vitamin
Like
D?
especially like strawberry and like banana and just like the mixed berries and stuff. They say it's worse.
I don't know. The thing, because I have patients who ask me, should I switch from smoking tobacco to vapes? And that's a scary subject because you can take the amount of tobacco that's in, in a cigarette, and then slowly decrease it. And they even have vapes that don't have any tobacco; it's just flavor. And so, if you want to do that slow decline, then that'd be a good way to do it. And you also get that oral fixation and the habit and all that. The problem with that is you can also increase it. If you get someone who doesn't have that good of will, and also you can smoke it inside.
Yep, and it's just always there.
Yeah, so you can just chain smoke it as opposed to going outside. And
That would mind.
Could be like partly OCD too, in a way. It's like constantly just wanting to hit something, I guess.
yeah, well, that I touched on that slowly a little bit. It's the oral fixation and the habit of doing
To
it.
addiction.
I knew someone who actually smoked weed and he wasn't able to because of he was getting tested and all that in a while, but he still rolled because he thought it was relaxing.
It is relaxing.
So he just had a bunch of unsmoked rolled joints that he didn't use because it's the habit and it's the ritual of doing it that feels good sometimes. It's not just the chemical.
And especially for people like in the car, if you allow yourself to smoke in the car, that's like the easiest way.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with cigarettes.
I don't smoke, but I do get addicted to caffeine really easily.
Oh, that's
so
really bad.
easy.
Caffeine's really
Yep,
bad.
I do not
too.
drink any
Yeah.
caffeine.
Are you a coffee drinker or a tea drinker?
I'm big coffee, and when I stop, when I want to decrease my caffeine, I have to switch to decaf because I still like the process of making the
Making
coffee
coffee.
and smelling it.
Does smell very good.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Everyone has their thing.
Yeah. I recently, and I'd say the past 2 months, switched to drinking tea instead of drinking coffee.
Yeah.
And it's really working for me.
I love tea.
Yeah, the loose leaf teas are the best. I think mate is a good thing to switch over from. I think. Can't remember from coffee. I don't know. That's a
Matcha?
tea. Maybe it's matcha.
Yeah. It's like, is it green?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like got a
It's matcha.
like a little like almost the same amount, but like half or something like that, and then you can go down from there.
Careful.
I don't know. Maybe that's a tea question. I'm not sure.
I have a question. So, I've been seeing, online that Colorado's trying out medicinal psilocybin. How do you feel
Yeah.
about that?
Microdosing.
Microdosing?
Yeah. Well.
Oh.
She's the shaggy of the group.
Okay, this goes more into that weird psychology is the philosophy we choose to believe kind of thing. But I think that our like self, our ego, superego, and all that has all these defense mechanisms that are kind of built up over time. You shouldn't do this. You shouldn't do that. You shouldn't think about this, or this is inappropriate and all that. And microdosing kind of breaks down, and in the situation of being in the right medical professional that can guide you through that process, you can get to those core issues that you wouldn't be able to do otherwise without the aid of medications. Yeah, if that makes sense. You should be able to walk around in your own mind without being scared to touch something.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
that's a good way to put
That is really good.
yeah.
Don't
And-
keep things bottled up waiting for them to burst out.
And for some people that takes the use of, more strong medications in a way. This is a side note. Back when we were talking about masks. But I got a mask off of Wish, so it's gonna come in like 4 years.
That's true.
And I'm not worried about it being infected because it's just gonna sit in a warehouse and all the bacteria is gonna die from it. But anyway, so I've been having trouble with rapport with my patients by wearing a mask. I had a person who had the dog bit their finger, and it broke, and I had to put it back in place. And I was like, okay, so we're gonna have to put this back in place. And he's like, "Are you serious? I'm not sure. You're wearing a mask. Are you kidding? You can't see the facial expressions, which is so important with the doctor-patient relationship. So I got a mask that's clear. So I'm wondering.
That's an
I've heard
aesthetic
those are
right
really
there.
nice for
Yeah.
people who are deaf too, and they read lips.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a huge problem. People read lips more than they think.
Mm-hmm.
What were you
I was
saying?
gonna say, like, do like anyone there like know sign language, or if there was a deaf person were to come in, would you?
Not at our facility. We're still a pretty small operation comparatively to a big hospital. But I mean, most of the time, I've had patients come in who speak like Iranian or something, Farsi or something like that, and I can usually pantomime my way through it.
Okay.
Like you. Oh yeah. What about? Yeah. Okay.
Were you required to learn any other languages?
I know a little bit of Spanish, because one, I'm from South Texas, so so I can I can have a good conversation with Spanish, but no, in most places, maybe if you get a residency in Puerto Rico or something, you don't have to learn that. They usually have like a little tablet and there's a translator.
I think
perfect.
that's cool. I was gonna say I think it should be important, but if they have that, then that's
Technology really is amazing,
Yeah.
and it's all at our fingertips.
Yeah.
It's not the same as like Mel destroyed in my
I mean,
Destroy all hard drives.
Hey, no, it is good. I'm warming up to it.
There's a lot of good that comes
Google
from
translates.
it, but there's also a lot of bad.
What's this? Is this a rule? Am I breaking the rule?
What? Oh no. We thought this was an actual hourglass, but it's really not. So we just like to
It's like
flip
a
It's
it.
20
about
minute
15
class.
minutes.
Yeah. It's a
Give or take.
class.
There's a game that everyone's playing besides me.
You in my damn head, boy.
Should we cut this open?
Yeah.
Go for it.
I'm
Anybody have
interested.
any allergies?
I'm allergic to cats.
I'm allergic to strawberries
Me too.
and oak tree bark.
Amoxicillin.
I used to be allergic to bees, but I got stung by one the other day and I was good, so I guess I'm over that.
My tongue swells up every time I eat cinnamon candy, cinnamon flavored candy or gum.
What?
I don't know why.
Well,
And
you're
it'll
not,
be
you're not
swollen.
missing much.
I don't know why.
But not
cinnamon
but not normal cinnamon, right?
Yeah, not normal cinnamon. I
My,
can
like
eat
it's
that.
added
my mom
shit.
has that.
Really?
Yeah.
And like, she'll eat cinnamon
Yeah,
candy for 2 days and it
Like Red
swells
Hot?
for like a week.
like hot tamales or whatever.
2 days straight.
Completely allergic or normal cinnamon? Problem. I don't know.
Wait, what was
People are
that
weird.
again? Say this.
Sorry.
Oh, so like hot tamales, really allergic. My mom. Normal cinnamon, like an actual pouring cinnamon on toast or something, not allergic.
Why is that? Is it just baked?
Probably
cinnamon?
added stuff.
Yeah, probably. I don't know what. But
I feel like everyone's kind of allergic to preservatives because they're not good for it. You're doing like terms so they can.
The fear
What?
just
Yeah.
instilled in me when the knife touched the dairy.
I know.
Okay.
okay,
The last time we tried to cut this open, it was.
This is
okay.
just lay it down.
I don't have any suture
Oh wait,
equipment, so.
I need a claw for protection of my hand.
Or just deformed. Do you want me to cut it?
You know,
Yes.
I'm pretty
Okay.
good with knives.
Wash your hands.
Sure. You have to keep this finger on top of
Do you want to try this while he's waiting?
Gordon Ramsay says
Well,
to do this. And then so,
Did you know?
Honestly, I think it's hard to do that.
Isn't avocados like one of the most?
Dangerous.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
with
When you're
people
getting the
cutting
pit
it,
out,
yeah.
I've cut myself so many times trying to cut up.
They're also like the
avocados.
best. I used to really not like them, but I can't
I
get
get
away from
chopsticks.
them.
I love
Yeah.
avocados. I can eat
Water?
them like apples.
Yeah.
Do you want ice?
Hmm?
Do you like ice? Sure.
This thing is squishy.
I am so excited to try it. Darius, are you gonna eat it?
You're asking a little bit too much of me. This hurts. Like touching this hurts.
So we are retrying this durian.
Okay.
Last time we
What?
cut it open, it was old.
Yeah,
Oh.
you have to eat it like right away. We just
I was
we got
like, what catastrophe happened?
Yeah.
It was just
It looks the
It
same.
literally looks the exact same.
no way. No, it's not. It's solid.
Yeah.
What does it smell like?
Oh.
It's not that bad.
No.
It smells like an old house.
That's what I was thinking. It smells like an old house. I've smelled that. in
Slash
someone's house.
Pepto Bismol.
Wait, how do you smell that shit?
Is
It's like someone's old
someone
bathroom or
should
something.
Google
Don't-
what's
what
like
is
a
Don't get
good
too close.
what's a good durian or
Yeah, that's a
durian.
bad house.
No, I looked up
No,
what a
apparently-
rotten
that's a-
durian.
This is what it smells
I
like.
got my
It's
nose
pungent.
really close to that shit.
Mhm.
Apparently, it's so bad it's illegal to take in places, and it's so
In
smelly.
places of the
Tigers,
world.
tigers will eat it.
Ew, I can
Really?
like that smells lingering.
Do you have to?
I think it's stuck in my nose.
Well, let's dive in, guys.
Guys, it's totally rotten. They're supposed to be green when they're
Yeah.
ripe. Like when they're ripe,
Well,
they're
I'm gonna
green,
try it.
and the inside.
I'm not
The
trying
Is it
world's
supposed to look
smelliest
right?
snack.
The inside looks like this normally.
How much do these cost?
That does not look like that.
Like
No.
3.99.
Guys,
Oh,
Brie,
this is
I
what
would
it
not
is.
eat that. Brie, I wouldn't eat that.
This
It
is what
doesn't look like
no.
this.
And the outside.
I guess.
Look at how
Should we
green
not
that
get them at
is.
Pan Asia anymore?
No, because
No.
imagine how far they have to like
Travel.
travel to
I-
get to
that's-
us.
Like
That's kind of ate up that they even sell that.
across
Yeah.
Asia.
I
Yeah,
wonder
the
how-
second time I thought it was my fault.
Because like
How
it's
do you
supposed
know-
to be green on the
Yeah.
outside.
Are they
It's supposed
open
to-
right now? We should call them and be like, hey,
Be like, you might want to stop selling.
what's
Yeah.
a good
This is the
durian?
second durian.
Ew. Okay.
Y'all.
Wow.
I need that to go away.
Wait, what if it, okay,
You want to put it
Bree
outside?
still wants to eat
wanna
her
try
rotten fruit.
You wanna?
You
I'm
can
taking.
still
You
try
wanna
it.
try real quick?
Yeah,
Maybe
Bree, they
just
don't
in
look like
case.
that.
It looks.
Just in case, because
Yep.
this was bought hidden.
Oh my god, this one looks like a heart.
How would you?
Oh,
Like,
wow.
it smells
No, I'm a
that-
pretty
yeah, that looks
adventurous
like-
eater, but I think I'm gonna. Go
I'm not
away
trying
from
It
that.
looks like a heart.
What's
Not
it
this
taste like?
time.
only once.
Just how I looked it up. It's sweet but garlicky at the same time.
Ew.
That's so weird.
Sweet garlic.
Okay, let me try one.
Yeah, you only live once, man.
Dude, I tried it last time.
Really interesting.
Hinduism says otherwise.
Let me do it. If anybody needs some Zofran tomorrow, just let me know.
It almost tastes like
You wanna try
something
it?
like something beefy.
I smelled it.
No.
Yeah, I smelled
Gosh,
it.
that does smell
It
bad
got
when
it
it's
got
on
on some of my tip.
At first, it
Just
tastes
try
like what
it.
it smells like,
Just
but
taste it.
I did. I tried it last time. I got a little
I'm
bit
good.
on there.
I'm just gonna cut my melon.
Nope.
That would go good in
Sorry.
a soup.
I
That's
don't know.
how
tastes terrible.
That fruit would go good in a soup.
You can make a savory soup.
No, all you. I don't know. At first, it kind of tasted like beef or something, but then
Ew!
it straight tasted like
What's
what
the
it
other
smells
side
like.
of it? Let me try a little bit else.
Mm-mm.
And
No.
I can't get it out of my mouth.
What is this?
I can't get the smell.
I just
I'm
tried a
gonna
little
watch
bit.
I literally licked it. That's all I did.
Bree's still eating it.
I'm just. There's different sides.
You gotta try your
You took such a big bite.
It's really not that bad.
Stays on your tongue.
I just don't like it.
Huh.
Like, I wonder why you guys
Well,
don't
we
like
have
it.
other food.
Yeah, we have ratatouille if y'all want some ratatouille.
So
You know, baby.
this is here. Let me bring it
Now
up.
I'm
there.
excited to try these.
Okay.
Norman.
Oh.
Wow, that's actually really bad. Like, I hope those people are
Norman.
not eating
on
those.
the stove.
during-
This one.
Yeah,
Can I use this one?
go ahead.
Ooh, now that is a beauty.
That looks like a good fruit.
Do I have to
Yes, it
share
does.
like all?
Should we
What's
show
this?
the camera?
Yeah.
This is a Korean.
Yeah, there was the whole bowl of water.
It's a miniature melon.
Dang, it's a miniature melon. Come on.
I don't know.
Wait, what's this called
If
again?
you're gonna eat it during, they should
Korean
outside
miniature
treat it
melon.
as, like,
I forgot the actual like.
I think they share a lot of fruits
You
with
like
the
a
Amazon because I know
non-slip
I've tried this before.
Or maybe Sammy will
Do you wanna
have
be seated?
pet
Yeah.
bowls. Yep, you have food and water bowls for Hazel?
Mhm.
Okay.
Not with me.
Do they tip
Let me get
over?
mine.
Like, can they spill them?
Oh no, I'll
Okay.
probably keep it in my room honestly, and then
Okay.
I'll keep the litter box in the bathroom and everything, just so it's out, not in your guys' way. And I'm gonna try to train him to go in the toilet.
That'd be cool.
Finally.
I'm just really hoping, like, the allergy stuff works.
Same. If not, I don't really know.
Oh,
Where's the other pal?
For showmen
So
and women.
Mmm.
we're gonna
This one's
try.
good.
What's it taste like?
A cantaloupe, kind of. A little bit.
Yeah, it's like a
Yeah,
Mhm.
I want to try a little
More-
bite.
Damn, I just ate a whole slice. I'm sorry.
a more concentrated type cantaloupe.
You eat the seeds?
I mean, you probably could, but.
You probably could. I just want the squishy part.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
This
More
reminds me of a honeydew.
It's like definitely a cantaloupe.
Hey, Galahad. Hi. Hi.
Oh, okay. I bet if you cut up a durian and it looked like that, you wouldn't eat it either.
Connor Randall goes, what is this?
Oh, I made it.
Hi, hey.
How are you guys? We love you.
Hi, Ava. Sorry we didn't get to
That's
reply
good.
to you. I'm sorry you're bored.
Mm.
It's
To be fair, I don't know much about this podcast.
You don't know much about it?
Yeah, please.
Oh, yeah, they don't cut that.
Well, what do you know? Just like the basis of it, I guess.
Shamelessly plug.
Well, we kind of just like started off her dad helped us with it, like the idea. And then we're like, wow, let's actually just sit down and start writing ideas down. We were like, whoa, Darius, like I've known Darius for a long time. Bree's known him for a long time. We all just clicked really well. So we just started sitting down, just talking about random stuff. And then, you know, Hunter came along, which is perfect. And then now, yeah. And the idea of just having new people come on is really cool because we get to meet people all the time.
Yeah, we want to have variety, you know, we want to learn something new from it.
Y'all were very patient with me, by the way, because it took me forever to get.
We wanted you on the
Yeah, we
podcast.
wanted this conversation like this.
Like-
And it mixes it up because we usually have like, you know,
Live
musicians
performances.
or stuff like that, but you know,
Yeah,
Having a
I
doctor,
showed you my
that's just-
schedule, so it's like
Yeah.
And honestly,
your
ours
doctor.
is kind of the same too. We're all really busy a lot, and then our lineup is big.
yeah,
Like,
we
I'm
have at least
excited.
like
I'm
30,
excited for everybody we're gonna
yeah.
have on the show.
I just switched to days recently, mostly days.
Do you like days better than nights?
And they both have their pros and cons, but it's summer and I want to be outside.
Yeah.
in the sun.
Understandable.
It's really strange working nights.
Yeah.
You get a lot
Like-
of interesting people at that time of night too.
Oh yeah, nights do get better cases. I'm not gonna lie. I get crazy cases.
I would imagine.
Let's see. Cinco de Mayo last year. Well, this year I had a few too, but last year, like no one was in the clinic. It was just me and one MA, and a group of people are just like banging on the door. We lock it at night because it's downtown and all that. And so we let him in, and like I don't know, well dressed people were like carrying one guy who was just hammered. I mean, just off
Was
his
he well
rocker.
dressed?
Fairly, yeah.
Okay.
And they said they were at Wheelhouse, and he fell down some stairs. And so they were asking them to pull his leg, and he was asking them to pull his leg, and all
Was
that
it like
stuff.
dislocated or something? Like
Well,
what was it?
I had to get him back to the X-ray, which was on the far end, and so I asked the friends, "Hey, can you help?" It was just me and one other person. Can you help me get him to the X-ray?
And wait, I'm gonna interrupt. You guys are closed, right?
Oh, we were open. We're open
okay.
24/7.
Oh, okay. I wasn't.
They just
Yeah.
close the doors for security.
Okay.
Yeah, we just closed the doors,
Okay.
and then you get rung in.
Okay.
And so I asked them to go back, and the people said no.
What?
They wouldn't help him.
They and then they're like, it's Cinco de Mayo. We're still gonna like.
I would not be friends with that person the next
Yeah.
day.
Those are not real
We're
friends.
still gonna go out. So they just left the guy.
What was
sitting
wrong
in the
with
waiting
him?
room. Took him back
Bless
after
you.
a lot of work and effort. Found out that he had a 2-bone tib fracture, which is right there. And the other one.
Wow, that is horrible.
That's
I
one of the
would.
worst.
That really shows
Yeah.
their true colors right there. Wow.
So he was trying to self-remedy by something called manual traction, which pretty much means pulling it, and when you pull, it puts the bones back into place. He didn't know that, but he just knew his body was telling him to do something. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was just gone, just ranting and very incoherent. If he was sober and cooperative, I probably could have fixed it and sent him. But his phone was dead. I couldn't call anybody. We tried charging the phone; it wasn't working. And I was like, I
Of
gotta call it.
course.
I gotta send him to the ER. Like he needs observation.
That
So,
sucks.
yeah.
Wow.
You did your best.
Mm-hmm.
But I did jerry rig a manual traction using a sheet and the weight of a wheelchair.
Oh wow.
So it stayed in place. So
That's
that
cool.
way.
Making do with what you got.
Yeah.
Is it true that like most medical workers that you guys have taken oath were like if someone like is in need of medical attention, you're supposed to just help them like right away?
Well, we do take the Hippocratic Oath, and that's usually in the beginning of med school, and that says a bunch of things like do no harm and stuff like that. But technically, you, like I do, but technically, if you see someone hurt, you don't have to. Yeah, you don't have to. It is different with doctors too, because if you initiate helping someone, it's not like someone off the street helping another Good Samaritan kind of thing. It's a doctor accepting a patient, which has a whole nother legal requirement.
So if someone came in, let's say that they're just completely uninsured, but their arm is hanging off or something like that.
Oh, well,
Maybe not their arm hanging off, but they need help.
typically we like to have something because we got to keep the lights on. But in very select circumstances, we can make those choices. What am I eating?
Oh, this is vegetarian.
How is it?
Is it cat food? It looks like cat.
Oh. This is what it is.
Smells like.
Do you want to try one?
That's Korean for cat
Is
food.
it good, berries?
It's kind of freaking me out the way it looks.
But when I see people on the
Service
street,
suggestions, ready
there was
to-
actually a really good case that I had in
It's actually
Chicago.
pretty good. I don't like how it looks.
I stop and help because
I'm
it's
so
just the
scared.
right
Very
thing to do.
salty.
It's not
It
bad.
smells like cat food.
It's vegetarian.
Right.
Anybody want mine?
It's too salty.
Dear God,
It's
what
very
is it?
salty and very spicy.
It's made out of soybeans.
It's pretty good. I mean, it's not bad. It's just.
Now for you, your
It's like too much spicy.
Mhm.
They can just tone it down like a little.
I don't like
Maybe.
spicy food.
It's not bad. Like it tastes pretty good. I just don't like how it looks.
But they try to get like a meat texture too.
You want this for you?
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm good. This is the kelp.
Oh, we're just going. This wasn't bad
It's
actually.
just an adventure. I don't
Not
want
bad,
any
but
though.
it's different for sure.
I already know.
Oh.
This would be good for hiking.
Oh.
Oh
I
yeah.
hate seafood. Or I mean seaweed. I know I won't like kelp.
I don't know how
How
I
do you even
feel
open
about
this?
It's so weird.
Is it?
Oh no.
It's like good, but it's different. 'cause
Have
I've
you
never
tried
had
any?
vegetarian jerky.
It's like
have you
wet
tried
beef
vegetarian?
jerky.
Yeah.
That's probably. It's a little bit different.
Yeah.
Some of it's very spot on.
I don't really like this. Kelp.
Can I see how it smells? This right here is sea kelp.
We need like a palate cleanser or something.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Some like pickles or some dry
Yeah.
dry
I don't know.
crackers.
I can't do it. Something in me is just like.
Yeah, I know. It's just.
I was just
not
kidding.
hitting me
It's
right.
fine.
Look, I will get everyone some palate cleanser. We got.
What's in that
No,
box?
this
What's
isn't
in that
bad.
thingy right
It's not
there? What-
horrible. It's just weird. I don't like the textures
red
of it.
lid.
You know. I'm a very texture
Yeah, what the
person.
hell is that?
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
the
we
texture
tried
was
these
a
two.
little
What
off.
is it?
Tasted.
It's peanut butter, crunchy peanut butter candy.
Ooh, can I
Yeah.
try
Yeah.
it?
Oats, peanut butter, and peanuts.
Oh, I want to try some.
Yeah.
This has a
But
nice.
I kind of want to
texture
taste
it.
some because I just have
Oh,
all the
this
Yes.
spice in my
smells like
mouth.
Yeah.
a Mr.
This is kind of spicy.
Yeah,
though,
that
too.
one's spicy.
Yeah.
Well, there's so much on this table right
Did you want to try the kelp?
You can't go wrong with peanut.
now. Mm-hmm.
Peanut
This
butter.
is
I'll eat
a
it
It's
after.
good. It's good.
I'll eat it after.
little triangle with X in it,
And there's scissors if you know.
Full.
or little rectangle.
Why is it squishy?
That's good.
I'm scared.
Just do it. Just go for it.
Okay,
Just go. Just do it.
I'm being all professional. Palate. Oh gosh.
Mm-hmm.
Mmm.
This tastes like peanuts.
Now the next
Oh,
one.
I already got
Okay, we
it.
got one.
I don't know what to think about this.
I know.
scared.
It's like seaweed.
It's different. It just tastes very
Very
Oceany.
what?
Yeah.
oceany. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not gonna like it.
Oceany.
Oceany. Ew, that's weird.
It's hard to describe.
Tastes like how a bad house
And what is
smells.
this? What is
Tastes
this?
like
Green?
what? What is
How a bad house
Is this
smells.
jerky?
Mm.
What's this made
This
out
is
of?
tofu jerky.
Okay.
I can't do this.
Oh,
Did you
weird.
try it?
No.
That one?
Yeah.
Huh?
There we go.
No. No.
That
Wait,
tastes
what
like
is it?
artificial fruit bars.
Is this sweet?
Uh-huh.
It is kind of sweet.
The texture's on point. Just it needs a different spice.
This is a fruit bar?
I think
No.
they could have made
What
it
is it?
crunchier.
Tofu jerky.
Nice.
Norman, no.
That's not bad.
No, this is for you.
It's all
Are
right.
you okay?
Mhm.
This is good.
It's just all these flavors are.
You know, I don't mind this actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not
Yeah,
bad.
eat some more.
Mm.
I just don't like things that are supposed to be savory and they're just sweet and savory. That's just
Yeah.
too much.
It kind of tastes like they put like General Tso's on it or something.
Mm-hmm. Can I eat one of those? Thank you.
I'm gonna.
Oh my gosh, I love these things.
Yeah, I got a rosemary one too. Really good.
Twisted.
I like that one.
Yeah, that was not bad. Which
Yeah,
one?
that one was
You
good.
can have more if you want more.
Had a little bit more.
That was that, yeah.
You want more?
This? No, ma'am.
I'm probably all tried it though.
So I'm 2 for 4 right now. Because the durian was a no-no.
Yeah.
I like that.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe
Okay.
not raw, but it could go good in with cookies.
You don't even want to know what it reminds me of.
I don't think we do.
Inside someone's body.
Let's just
Ew.
move on. Okay, and what else?
That was decent. I think this was the. Wait,
I like that.
this one was the best. I think.
Really?
Yes.
I think same, but I still couldn't eat all of it. It's just the textures of all of it's really
Yeah.
weird.
This, I like this one and this one. Didn't you have another one?
I like the
sea
melon.
kelp. I didn't like the sea kelp.
I didn't like the smell of that one, but the taste was okay.
This one.
Yeah, and it tasted like someone accidentally got their beef jerky wet or something.
Yeah, like just dipped in oil.
Ew. Yeah, it was just.
Yeah.
As I eat another one.
If it was dry, it would have been better.
There was squid jerky at.
Nope.
Squid jerky?
Yeah.
No.
What?
And salmon jerky too. It's so different.
So who here is vegetarian? I'm getting a theme.
Oh.
The goal is.
Jacob. Jacob like me. Good.
Oh,
Nobody's saying
I'm glad you said that. What that diet, that like the sustainable diet, what kind of
Yes.
meat would be involved in that diet?
You know, I'm not sure. I haven't like really dove into it. I
Anything
just kind of
but beef,
heard
right?
the name once or twice.
Yeah, I know beef is really bad.
There,
so
do you want some of this?
probably
Just
just like
share.
chicken,
I just want a bite.
turkey, seafood.
No. Yeah. I think it's more along the lines of just you don't have to like go full vegetarian, fruitarian, or pescatarian or whatever. One was a joke, but
I'm sorry, sometimes things just go.
but maybe like World War II times of like every Friday you just don't eat meat, or once every meal you choose something that doesn't eat meat. Something along that lines. And if everyone in the world did something like that, then it can really make an impact.
Yeah,
If
it
I
is
get
good.
that hunter.
Yeah, go ahead. If anybody wants some, you can have some.
What is it?
Ratatouille.
Ratatouille.
Tell them what it's made out of.
So the ingredients are onions. I used an aloha pepper, just like a bell pepper. Garlic, squash, tomatoes, zucchini, eggplant, basil, and olive oil.
Basil.
And thyme and pepper. Ooh, and Mrs. Dash, you guys.
Mrs. Dash.
She really knows where it's at.
Thank you, Mrs.
And
Dad.
no salt.
Yep.
Use it in moderation, because it can increase your potassium too much.
I have to have salt. Well, I don't know about anymore, but when I was younger, I had a heart problem and I had to have a certain amount of salt or like water, or else I would end up like passing out.
There's a lot of those.
Yeah.
But
Now more than ever, I have to be very careful with what I eat because I have stomach issues out the ass, man. I don't know why. My
No,
stomach is always
literally.
upset. It's always upset, and I still haven't quite figured it out. It's definitely not the edibles. It
Well,
started
there is-
before the edibles came along.
Well, I mean,
That's one of the main reasons why I stopped eating meat.
IBD, IBS, lactose intolerance.
Mhm.
Those are the things you should look at.
My girlfriend, she has a C deficit, I forget what it is, where she doesn't have a lot of good bacteria in her large intestine.
Yeah.
We always have issues with that.
Yeah, that's common too. A lot of probiotics.
I feel like she used to, what
Yogurt
really
stuff.
big causes, she used to take like a lot of ibuprofen,
Mm-hmm.
and it just killed like all her good
Yeah.
My mom takes that so much, and I can't get her to stop.
Ibuprofen. I told her when we first started dating, I was like, you gotta stop. Like, you
Mhm.
don't want to be taking ibuprofen.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, that's true.
At one point,
It
my
can
mom
erode the gut.
she would take like every 4 hours every day.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
That's how my mom was. I don't really
and
know.
she's
if
not like
still
that
does it,
anymore. She's definitely getting on the more natural path.
but- Good.
We were in Mexico
Good job,
and just
Mama.
found out that she had C. diff, and it was, imagine like being on a resort. You don't know what's going on with your
Oh,
medicine. You
man.
feel like you're dying.
Yeah.
A Mexican doctor comes out and just shoves a needle in your butt. And then you go home and you still don't know. You find out what's wrong and they quarantine you for like a freaking week. It was crazy.
I
Yeah,
bet.
it's very contagious.
Mm.
I was actually in Mexico 6 days ago. Because again, I went to go see my family and I lived down there. And my brother, who new to traveling, he was down there and he was like, "Oh yeah, I met friends," and like, "Oh, we're drinking everything." And they poured me a drink and it had ice in it. And I'm like, and I asked the guy, "Where'd you get the ice?" And he goes, "From water."
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, "I'm not drinking
No.
this. I'm sorry."
Water's bad.
Oh, I was
That
there.
was-
I was like, what? That's where ice comes from.
Water bad, Sam.
Water bad. Oh my
Oh,
god,
yeah.
I was alive.
Like, no matter like where he's at.
That is brave. That is brave. When I was in Peru, I slowly moved into the water because I wanted to drink all their coffee. You had to make a choice.
I wouldn't go to anywhere but the
I'm gonna go
US.
everywhere.
Even places in the US. I've never been to California.
Really?
It's beautiful.
I'd like to go to San
I love San Francisco. I would love to go to Southern California too. I've never gone to Southern California.
Northern's really pretty.
It is so.
Celiac.
Uh,
Well, it's definitely real. You can kind of put it into like maybe 3 categories, which is 1, full-blown celiac disease, which is no gluten, don't do it. It's gonna be terrible for you, just don't do it. And then gluten intolerance, which is you eat gluten, but it doesn't really do anything. And then there's a third type that just thinks that they can't, but they're not really good at self-diagnosing. It takes a clinician to kind of differentiate between those, but it's very real.
Yeah, I
And
have a friend who's like, no, like it's not real. He says like in Italy or whatever, they eat gluten all over. Like their gluten, whatever it is in their food is different than ours.
Yeah, probably doesn't have high fructose corn syrup in it.
Sure. He is right about that. They're all eating carbs and super skinny. It's just crazy. It's all the coffee, I guess.
How long have we been going?
Let me see.
I don't know.
Over an hour.
Hour 42.
Oh, wow.
nice.
Wow.
Not surprised, honestly.
Mm-mm. Got some good
We've had a lot of conversation.
Yeah, I like explaining medical things.
Mm-hmm.
It's very
I
interesting.
like
Yeah, it's very
hearing
interesting learning about it.
It's just nice to be in a room with someone who like asks questions.
Yes,
Yeah,
the
it
questions
is.
I've been wanting to ask.
I know most of them. You're probably going to think of things after I leave.
I know,
Yeah.
that's the worst part. I might be getting some texts. Come back.
Wait, there's something wrong with me. Yeah.
I could. I'm comfortable with it.
I
live
have a
performance.
banana.
Live
I could-
Cadaver!
I could suture a mango.
Well,
I've seen
Or
videos of
I have a
TikTok
banana
people
too if you want to
do
use
it
banana.
surgery.
Wait, that'd be hilarious. Wait, let's do it.
Gotta make
You
that.
know?
Yeah.
We don't have a suture kit.
Oh, we'll have to do a part 2.
I do have a sewing kit. There was a curved needle in there.
You said there's a curved needle in there.
We need
What do you
needle
call those?
holders
Yeah.
and a tweezers. And of course,
I used to really be into Grey's Anatomy, and at one point I would just practice sutures on a banana with sewing thread.
Oh, that would be really tough. Especially if you didn't have the right needle.
I had the curved
Well,
needle,
I
and I
think I
had the. Is it a needle holder? Those pliers?
No, yeah, it's kind of like hemostats. Those
that's what I
things,
use.
but they don't have teeth in them. They're just flat.
Okay.
Those are needle holders.
What's the thing that goes like?
A solder or a cauterizer?
Yeah.
Yeah, I use those every once in a while. Subungual hematomas, like a big thing of blood underneath the nail. You gotta break it.
And it helps stop the bleeding as much too.
Well, it's painful because there's like a
Pressures.
big pocket of blood under the nail, and that just swells, and there's no way to relieve the pressure, and it hurts. So then you just pop. Sometimes they shoot. But yeah, you can take a needle, but people are really scared of those.
Yeah. I really used to be afraid of needles, and then I just got over it. One day.
So was my sister. Whenever she had to get her shots, they would literally have to have like 3 doctors hold her.
I would always cry.
Me too.
I never really.
I don't even know why I cried because it didn't hurt.
It was the idea of something going
Yeah.
inside of you, and then they tell you to look away, and you're like, oh.
I have to look away.
I still hold the nurse's hand just for comfort.
Look her in her eyes.
When you got the remember when you got the IV that one time?
Oh my gosh.
'Cause you were very
I was so
dehydrated.
dehydrated one day. I went to urgent care, and I was having
Just
so much
hours.
anxiety because I've never had an IV in me before like that. And I just had so much anxiety. My face was turning numb, my ears were turning numb, and I was just like, whew. Oh my
Did
God.
you get someone that like really knew what they were doing? 'Cause that helps.
They were. Remember the girl you said that her voice was super comforting.
Oh
The
yeah,
nurse?
yeah.
Yeah, that always helps.
But you were there for a while. We were there for like a couple hours.
Yeah, we were.
Yeah.
Felt
Just
weird.
sitting there
It was
with-
cold. It was so weird.
I'm not gonna lie. When I was starting IVs, I was not good at it. Like, usually you have like a 1 or 2 try, and then someone else does. But now I'm like, if I can't get it, no one can get it.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Practice makes perfect.
I look young. I don't know.
Do you ever have to give blood? Like, have you ever done that or anything? I mean, that's probably.
from me? Like from me?
No. Like you doing it to people.
Yeah. I mean, we draw blood all the time for like labs and stuff.
I still try to get that butterfly eagle.
I'm better with the other one though.
Oh really?
Yeah, just let the blood go everywhere. It doesn't matter.
Just let us know about it. It's okay.
No
big deal.
That means you got a good one. When it goes.
So how old are you actually?
I'm 30.
Really?
Mhm.
Oh
I
wow.
thought you were like 25.
Yeah, I was gonna say definitely 25,
Yeah.
26.
So it is. I get asked that like 4 times a day, literally.
Are you old enough to be a
How old
doctor?
are you?
Or they'll be nice and they'll be like, "So what year did you graduate? Medical school?" Like try to piece it together mathematically.
Without actually asking the question.
Yeah, and I'll just be like, "I'm 30."
Like, oh, okay, I feel better.
Okay, yeah. Let's move on.
Do you follow a certain skincare regimen?
Sunscreen. That's it.
Some people are really into face routines. I didn't
Do you
know.
recommend any primary doctors? Because I don't have one right now.
No, because I used to be the primary care doctor, so I don't have a
want you-
list
I want
because
you
I'd
to be
recommend
mine.
me.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I unfortunately don't, and it's a huge problem in St. Louis. No one can find any. It's like, and the ones that they do have, they're like 3 months out.
Mm-hmm. That's how it is for me. I'll call like, you can come in like 4 months. I'm like, okay.
Super
And then I
helpful
missed
for
the
my
appointment.
cold.
Yeah, that happened to me at Mercy Hospital. I missed one of the appointments, and they said I was never allowed to come back at all. Like, I'm not allowed to be a patient at any of the Mercy like things
They
because I
straight
missed
up
an appointment and I
fired
didn't
you.
call them and tell them I couldn't go.
Wow.
So now when I call, I'm like, okay, I can't go to a Mercy doctor.
All of Mercy? That's a
Yes.
lot.
No,
Of,
because I
this
called,
girl.
I called like separate
Don't
like
let her.
buildings, and they're like, oh yeah, your name's in the file. You can't like come here. I'm like, are you
You've
kidding?
been blacklisted.
I'm banned.
Jeez. A patient has to do a lot to get fired from.
all I did was miss an appointment.
There's something you're not telling him.
Yeah. So when you were a primary doctor, did a lot of your friends go and have you as their primary doctor? Or?
I'm not like a huge fan of treating friends and family and stuff like that because like there's always a certain amount of bias, I guess, in a way.
Mm-hmm.
But not bias as in like bias on my part of like, I don't know, when doctors think about their friends and family, they tend to think that nothing's wrong or something like that, or everything's wrong, but there's no in between. But yeah, I've seen friends and family.
Can you do that? Like, couldn't you just like prescribe a family member or friend like drugs?
We can. It's frowned-ish upon.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I went to urgent care one time and I just said I had a hearing and they just sent me home with like hydros.
Jeez.
Yeah, I had a bottle of like 20 hydros. So I was like, it was that like it kind of scared me. I was like 16 when they did it. I was like, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Whoa.
I'm just such not a fan of that at all.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
That's good.
Like, I didn't even think I gave it to the person I reset the finger, but
Exactly.
go to orthopedics. That'll incentivize you to go there. So, I had one. I know this is random, but I had one patient who she cut her thumb like this, right across, and she couldn't, play thumb war. She couldn't push down. She couldn't flex her thumb, and she wouldn't let me suture it back together, which I still needed to do. Because I tried like 15, 20 times and she just kept pulling away, and at some point it's just more dangerous to. So I made her the appointment for orthopedics. So I made the appointment for orthopedics. I gave her the time the next day. I gave her the place. I gave her the address, and I said, go there. And it was night shift, so I slept, and I came in, later that night. And they said she didn't go.
Oh my god.
It's like, your finger's not doing this. That's
Do you know anything about her now? Is she able to move her finger?
I tried to call her back, but she didn't answer.
Literally, that's so
She
important.
ghosted you.
You guys,
I mean,
you guys have a hitchhiker smell?
No.
That makes me want to.
No.
Mine kind of, but not very much.
Not at all.
yeah.
That is weird. No, I can't do that.
I know someone in my
Are you
class. Theirs went
Ugh.
super far. I was like this.
Oh no. Something I do a lot is like I have to pop my knuckles
weird
right here.
tone.
Is that gonna be carpal tunnel when I'm
Nope.
older?
Mm-mm. Doesn't show any kind of carpal. Well, maybe if you're straining this part, but if you're like popping wrists and stuff like that, no
Is that bad to
osteoporosis,
do?
no
I
osteoarthritis.
hate that it happens. I hate it. It's just
It
like
just decreases grip.
One weird thing that I don't know what this is, but you can kind of see if I do this a certain way, like I don't know these, and then you can hear it.
Well, I can't
Sounds
speak
like popping.
specifically towards one person or another, but usually popping is considered not that. There's actually a really good, funny case about that, like a study that was done. And a scientist got really upset at his mom, as scientists do. And for every day for a ridiculous amount of time, like 15, 20 years, he would pop one side of his wrist like 2 or 3 times a day on a schedule, every day for like 20 years, but not the other side. And then they measured the results, and there was no difference.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I guess someone has to do that. Someone has to test
Scary.
it out.
yeah.
At least you would still have one wrist and hand that would work, and it went down. Bad.
Yeah, I popped my wrist.
Hmm.
But try not your neck. Probably not great.
That dude at Creepy World always
Ew.
pop our, you need your neck pop before we go into
Mm-hmm.
to the haunted
Which
houses.
sometimes I do pop my neck, but I don't mean to.
I literally go. Oh my god!
Oh.
I remember that too. He's like,
My
just calm down.
cousin, he'll go, and then like the other side, and I'm just like, ugh.
Yeah, I can do that, but I'm not going to.
How do you feel about chiropractors? Because they like do that with they'll do that with all body parts.
Well, you're talking a little bit more of a sensitive subject.
Oh.
So, chiropractors are their original basis for being was going over these lines of energy inside your body called meridians. And if you can just realign those meridians, not only just back problem, but like sinusitis or, like eye problems and stuff like that can be fixed. They've gotten a lot more evidence-based since then, but manipulation of the spine, like really bad manipulation of the spine, can cause the arteries to split apart. It's called basilar artery dissection. Yeah, and so it's an issue. That's why I'm more into physical therapy, which is like chiropractor plus evidence-based medicine.
Oh, you are? You're moving to that?
Huh?
You said you're moving to that? Like
No, I moved towards liking it more. Yeah,
Mm.
from a personal point of view.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But I imagine there's plenty of chiropractors that are very evidence-based.
He's so weird. Come over here.
I went to the chiropractor one time and they really fixed me up.
That's
Yeah.
good.
It's kind of a hit or miss because my aunt went to a chiropractor and they did like the lower half of her body and she got up and she fell and she could not walk.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Like, she's good now?
Yeah, it was for like a week.
Okay.
But she can walk. She can walk now, but she says she always has problems with it.
Oh my gosh.
I'll go for like never go to
Just
the
rub this
chiropractor.
right
Yeah,
No.
but I kind of want to go, but I don't want the no.
You should go like go to the joint, just pay $30 and they'll suggest you real quick.
That's kind of the deal I went to. It's called Vance Chiropractic, but it's back in Quincy. And it was around like $35. And they just do a little bit of an adjustment. It was nothing super serious. It was pretty chill.
I'm gonna go to.
If there's any chiropractors watching, let me follow you and see what you do. Change my minds.
Yes,
For real?
There we go.
I want to go to one of those chiropractors where they walk on your back. Probably not good for you.
Okay, that one's.
I think it's not too bad for you if they're. I think they have to be like at least 40 pounds less than
Yeah, I
you.
was gonna say it depends on their weight.
Just crush me.
Just stomp on me. It's okay. I'll enjoy it.
Being a doctor and everything, you probably don't have a lot of free time, but what are some things you enjoy doing when you have free time?
Well, I like running. It's a pretty basic one. Yeah, hiking, biking.
I love hiking.
I used to like Ultimate before COVID, but yeah, Ultimate Frisbee, really fun.
It is fun.
Yeah,
You should try this app when you go running. It's called Zombie Run.
I've heard of it. Yeah.
It's pretty fun.
Explain it a little bit.
So it's like you're in the story and you listen along as you're running, and they'll say like, "Oh, there's zombies coming." You'll like hear it in the background, and just
Oh, that's
it'd be kind of creepy to run at night. Like,
Oh
Yeah,
gosh,
a
you
little
would
bit.
actually be running for
My
your
imagination
life.
would be the best of me.
Everyone's screaming. I have my AirPods in. Like,
Get out of my way.
like
I'd say
every
that.
couple like steps or whatever, it'll say like you found first aid kit or whatever
That's cool.
along the way of your journey.
And how long is it usually?
Usually it's like a 35-minute story that you follow along.
And then you just get distracted by it, so you don't even realize you're running
Yeah.
until
I just
afterwards.
gotta get away from these zombies.
And then you're done running, you just drop to the ground.
Like, oh my god. I'm alive.
It'd be interesting in downtown at night. That
Oh
Yeah.
gosh, that would
Okay.
be scary.
Yeah. Oh wow. Having that play while you used to see everything.
Mm.
Hmm.
I do not want to.
Well, is there anything else that you want to say to anyone about yourself or
I don't know. We talk so much.
medicine?
I could talk, I don't know, about really random things. I don't know. Patient cases? Everyone likes patient cases. Okay. Oh, yeah. Oh, that was funny. Every once in a while, you get like this really Dr. House clinical like case where you're like, yeah. And I did get one that walked in, and it was a mom who she picked her son, he was a 13-year-old male, and picked her up, and he had these little red like rash all over his body, mostly on the left side, mostly down the legs. And the mom was like, "Oh, is it measles or chicken pox or something?" I mean, like pediatric rashes, especially the perk one, what I'm describing, is really hard to diagnose. I mean, there's like a list of 10, like 15, 20 of them, and they're all the same. So I go in. She said, picked him up from the grandpa. He was playing out in the yard. He's been itching him and itching more and more recently. And I looked at it, and it was not wheals. Like it was not contact dermatitis. It was not an allergic reaction. Well, it wasn't wheals, pretty much. And so I looked on his sandal, and the rash extended to the sandal.
Huh.
And then so I look up at the kid and I said, "Have you been playing in paint?" And the mom goes, "No." And the kid goes, "Yes, I played with my grandpa." And I got an alcohol swab and I rubbed one of the dots. And it came off on the thing. And I showed the mom, and she looked at the kid with daggers.
That's
Do you think
hilarious.
it was just causing him like a reaction? to
Yeah,
itching?
so he was allergic to the paint,
Okay.
which he was trying to itch off,
That's so funny.
causing excoriations, which is like
Yeah.
itch marks. And so mom didn't believe me. I was like, here's an alcohol swab. Go for it.
Wipe it off.
Oh my gosh.
It's just paint. And I wrote on the discharge bath.
Take a bath.
Make sure he has good hygiene.
That was a good one.
That was fun.
I really like that case. I have a picture of it too. If you want to.
Yeah.
Why not?
I should have showed it before, and because I went around and I actually sent it to my doctor buddies because, as we described, we do that. Let's see. We have some good ones. Oh yeah. Okay. Right here. Let's see.
Oh, okay.
Right there.
That's so funny.
Huh.
Which is
I don't know if you can.
I wonder why he didn't tell his mom it was
Huh?
just pain.
Is that pain?
He,
No, it's
he
just
probably
was
like
probably
it.
nervous, and he was probably nervous because
Yeah.
you know, like maybe he wasn't supposed to play.
Yeah, maybe he
paint or
like
something.
he's got in trouble with paint
So
before.
he didn't want to tell his mom. Kids are so funny.
Yeah, I mean, like even close, it looks like cherry hemangiomas or something like that.
It does look like.
Nope. And so I sent it to my doctor friends, and they said like purpura, idiopathic purpura, and all this, but you can see on the sandal. that
Oh,
it
that's-
extends to the sandal.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
That's awesome. You're mean. Wicked.
My fear of having kids is stories like
Yeah, that would be the
Like,
easiest
oh my God,
part,
my
though.
Yeah.
my kid's dying.
I would be happy if it was just pain, though.
Yeah.
Imagine if it's not, then you're like, oh, fuck, what is it?
Yeah. Yeah, she was calling up all her friends. Guess what it was?
pain.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is a good story.
Yeah, happy ending.
Yeah, very.
Oh my god.
This has been a good podcast.
Yes.
I agree.
Is there a time limit, or is it
3
just
hours is the time limit
3 hours?
with our contract.
I think we covered that. You guys have anything else you want to say?
We kind of covered it.
He's going in.
That's probably why you can talk to us.
I wonder if he'd even like it.
He would
Let's
love
see.
it.
I think he likes anything.
He
Yeah.
likes everything he's not supposed
He's
to
the
eat.
mascot.
Yeah.
He really does. We love Oh my god, Norman's face on his whole body. That'd be awesome.
That would be a cute shirt. It'd be like,
I have a good picture for it too.
Oh,
Where he's just literally like this.
oh wow, this is a cool one.
Oh,
Oh yeah, and is that a flashlight or something?
Mm-hmm. I think.
Okay. Since we're
I don't
sharing
remember how to
images,
use
Okay,
and
yeah.
I have y'all's attention. So there's such a cathartic experience from popping a bone back in place, and I don't know if the studio audience can see it, but there's 5 metacarpals. The first one is on your thumb, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this last one right here, when it's called a boxer's fracture, but most people are switching to call it a amateur boxer's fracture because boxers, when they punch straight on, so it doesn't break anything. But an amateur will punch sideways and hit this one. And on the distal part of the 5th metacarpal, this area, it will snap because it's not as strong. So that's what I did here, and I just told her. She went to another doctor, and the doctor didn't do anything and told her to follow up with an orthopedic. And she came to me, and she's like, "I'm in a lot of pain. What do I do?" And I'm like, "We're gonna put it back in."
Whenever you do that, do you ever give them any type of medicine? Or...
You can give lidocaine in this situation when it done
Yeah.
anything. You just gotta. I give some ketorolac. It's like a strong. It's more than a strong ibuprofen, but it's in that family. And some ice. Wait 15 minutes, and then I just grabbed her and popped it right back in. Pull and.
But it probably felt so much better afterwards.
Yeah,
like
she was
relief
thanking
of
me
it.
and smiling afterwards.
Good.
That's probably the best part.
Yeah, I dislocated my elbow one time. I had to like pop back into place.
Yeah.
Not me personally.
I remember I went rollerblading and I broke this wrist. Like I broke it right here, so it was hanging that way. Like 'cause it wasn't broke here. It was broken here. So I went to the hospital and they put me to sleep, and they were trying to pop it back into place. But I woke up in the middle of them doing that, and I was screaming and yelling. And she's like, "You can't do it here." Then they sent me to BJC because I was at Paul, and they put me to sleep, and they popped it back into place, and I woke up. And what just happened?
I've never broken a bone before.
Me neither.
I've broken a lot of bones.
Me too.
A lot.
I do have one more question. Did you ever think about giving up or studying something else on your journey to becoming a doctor?
Oh, it's so tough. I also do some EMR work on the side as well, but for the longest time I went into health information technology, which is a pretty good job, but as you can see, I really like this job.
Yeah, I can tell.
Yeah, I can tell
I can
too.
tell. Big pride.
Yeah.
There's just no substitute in the end for clinical medicine. Doing those tests, doctors have 4 tests. The smallest one is like 7.5 hours. The longest one's 15.5, and over 2 days. And those are tough. Those are really tough.
Yeah.
And they're getting tougher.
Nerve-wracking, too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure. Because our doctors have to be better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a few extra steps that I've had to go along the way, which is a whole nother story. But I kind of fought to get into clinical medicine, and I want to stick with it.
You got there, so
Mm-hmm.
keep it going.
Yeah.
And we need more doctors like you that have the mindset of actually wanting to help and
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
not just resorting to medication,
Yeah,
which is really cool.
there's a nice balance, but yeah, I try to go with non-medical avenues when it's appropriate, or adjunctive, I guess. So yeah.
Well,
By the way, what do y'all do? I don't even know.
what do we do? This. No, I'm just kidding.
Right now, I just work at a bird shop, kind of Wild Birds Unlimited. We don't actually sell birds, just like wild bird food and feeders and gifts and stuff like that.
Cool.
Yeah.
I just work at a restaurant right now, sauce on the side, but yeah. I want to eventually go to massage therapy school. I was supposed to do it a while ago, but then the COVID thing came up and I wasn't able to start.
Yeah,
But
hard
I
to
want
do a
get
massage with 6 feet.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm like also questioning if I want to do it just because of how easy I would be able to get taken out of it with my job wise. Because are they even gonna have that back? Like how would that?
I think massage therapy is considered essential work
Essential.
because I mean it is therapeutic.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's
I'd
my
have to see.
that's my goal right now. But yeah, as of right now, I'm just working, moving in here soon. Actually,
Yeah.
this week.
It's a nice place.
Yeah, I know. I have my own bathroom.
Hopefully y'all don't have parking issues.
No, we really don't.
Mhm.
I can't wait to go into the marijuana field. That's what I really
Mhm.
want to do. Is grow
Stuff.
marijuana, or even get more into it.
A lot of vertical integration in that in that business right now. It's really tough to get in, you know, if you're not like a big corporation. But I mean, if it's what you want to do, then yeah,
Like, so what I want to do.
you'll
I know,
find
I'm
a
just
you'll
kinda
find a
winging it,
way.
honestly, just
Yeah.
doing my thing.
Honestly, as long as you're
Live it
happy
every
when
day.
you
Yeah.
get home at the end of the day,
Exactly.
that's most of it.
Mm-hmm. And right now, I'm just excited.
I just guys use it and get in my head sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And I also work at a furniture store. They go down
You know, they don't have that in Texas. This is the first
Really?
time I've heard of weekends only.
Yeah, it's a St. Louis thing. They started on Graveways in St. Louis.
Yeah, my couch is from weekends only. I like weekends only.
Yeah, nice.
Need anything, holla at me, Manchester, gotcha.
When I first moved, I didn't have anything when I first moved.
Same.
Like, I was living out of a suitcase. Like, my apartment in Chicago was 10 by 10.
Oh, wow.
It was, I mean, it was like no bigger than this area in your kitchen. Like, maybe
Your
a
whole
little.
apartment?
Yeah, my whole
Wow.
apartment. Maybe even
Same,
smaller.
something like that.
Well, that's why I liked it. It was in Lakeview, or Buena Park, which is like one street away from Lakeview, by the water, and it was $5.50 a month. And that's why I did it. 'Cause I was like, my
I
neighbors.
still feel like
are-
that's too much. I mean, that's cheap.
But it
and
was in
it's cheap.
Chicago.
Have you lived in
Chicago's
Chicago?
expensive.
Oh, it's in Chicago?
Yeah.
Never mind. Okay. Okay.
Like
That's like the cheapest you
Yeah.
go.
Sheridan, Red Line, Chicago. It was a great place to live. Yeah, you could take that money and buy a whole bunch of other stuff. But I wanted a bigger place, so I got a bigger place when I moved here, and I got furniture. It's nice.
Oh, yeah.
At weekends only. We're not sponsored by weekends only.
It's Wednesday. We're closed.
Another good store. I just went to it for the first time
Is it
last
Wednesday?
night.
No, it's Thursday.
At
They say shut the light.
At home. It's okay.
So, I'm sorry.
At home's a really cute store though. They have a lot of cute stuff and some good deals.
You can really get lost in there.
Yeah.
It's like a mall.
There's a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of business.
colors.
At home? Yeah. I love that stuff.
No.
You
Oh,
have
we
to.
gotta take you.
Yeah.
You're gonna.
Is
really
that the
gonna be like
container
this.
store?
No.
I want to go.
Have
to
you been to the container store?
It's like
I wanna go
yeah,
there.
I do like the container store. It's like Home Depot, but for just furniture.
Yeah.
Oh.
They had the biggest variety of like garden pots, just for
Literally
yeah,
everything.
furniture in general.
Anything that can go in the
Bedding.
house.
They had so many aisles full of like comforters and sheets and stuff like that. Very cute.
Where'd you get it? I got it at home.
At home?
Yeah.
Do it yourself project?
No, not DIY at home. That would be cool to open up a furniture store.
All home.
Yeah, it'd be like
All
outsourced
natural.
supplied from like people who make their own like
Recycled furniture?
That would be
a
really
so-
cool.
one side. Oh. Wait, I can't give you my ideas.
Yeah,
I'm
no.
sorry, guys. You're just gonna have to shop there.
So my mom used to sell Yorkies.
Really?
Yeah, when I was in high school.
Wow.
Little small ones.
And we
Oh.
Tico.
And they were treated like gold. It wasn't a puppy
Oh,
mill, I promise. we couldn't even give them not tap water. We had to filter it.
Oh, cute.
And so yeah, we personally transported Yorkies to whoever needed it.
Oh wow, that's cool.
And some
Why
of,
Yorkies? Just
I don't know. My mom just like Yorkies. And
They're a good breed.
they really
Yeah.
are.
Yeah, they really are. Like he doesn't even bark when there's people here.
hypoallergenic and very loyal.
Yeah.
Very
He's
loyal.
stubborn though. He's
Yeah.
very stubborn.
About his food.
I had a teacup Yorkie when I was younger, and the only issue was that he would have run off into the woods, and then he would just get so full of birds we had to shave him.
That's so scary too because they can be so preyed and preyed
Yeah,
on.
I know.
Yeah.
And I really lived out there too.
We did have a few customers that got picked up by birds of prey.
Yeah, that's
Nice.
very common.
Oh, that's
Like
so
owls?
No, like
Yeah.
hawks and
Owls.
owls too. Yeah,
Yeah.
but probably especially hawks.
That's scary.
Like eagles are my dog was
Um, There's actually a lot of like big birds of prey. Like they're growing in population, especially in the Midwest. And they're all fighting for territory, and that's why they're all moving into the cities.
Or that's where all the small dogs are too. The city.
Yeah. Very much so.
People weren't driving as much for a while, so there wasn't as much road kill. Vultures and stuff were just like
Where's the
swimming in
food?
the streets.
Whoa,
I didn't think about that. Yeah.
There's this movie that's like that. It was like the end of the world, but the opening scene was a bunch of birds just swarming this town and like attacking the people.
Birds are very interesting. Like they can tell the weather. They have like a makeshift barometer, like kind of in their ears, and they can tell when the temperature is going to drop or rise. And they just really have good instincts. I don't know.
Interesting.
I know, like this year, it's been interesting, but they've noticed that the birds have been acting different due to the weather. Like they've been taking different migration paths. They've been going off migration. They've been having babies. They had babies like earlier in the year, and they didn't make it because we had some warm days, and then it got cold again, and that's just not normal necessarily compared to like 20 years ago.
And they probably just don't know where to go.
Yeah, the weather's really getting tough.
So everything basically ties back to take care of the planet.
Yeah,
Take care of the planet.
everything's connected.
Take care of yourself, take care of the planet.
And don't litter.
For real.
Oh
it's
my
not that
God.
hard.
Who litters nowadays?
Seriously.
The car in front of me on 270
A lot of
threw her
people.
whole bag of McDonald's out the window
Of
and
course
almost
there's
hit the window. I
McDonald's.
swerved and almost hit the car next to me. Yeah, you, whoever you are. The
It's
person
not
that ordered a
okay.
Big Mac and a
It's
large
not.
fry.
That's crazy.
That's probably why she threw it out, because she's eating a Big Mac and a large fry.
Literally just like,
Like why? Oh, it earths the trash. You know?
St. Louis drivers, I've noticed that. Because
What's
I've driven
that?
in like every city in America.
It's like St. Louis doesn't have a speed limit.
No, they don't know what stop signs are or stoplights.
blinkers. They
And
don't know what those
I
are.
city bike, so it's like especially difficult.
My buddy lived in Powers Road. It was like I started going to the city there a couple years ago, and I was driving with him, stopped at a stop sign, and he don't stop.
What?
It's just a suggestion.
Yeah, I was like,
It's just a suggestion.
Sounds like small town driving.
Yeah.
yeah, I would do it in a small town, not in the city.
Yeah.
Because no one's gonna come if you're in a small town.
And like, it's not like they're at some random light in the middle of nowhere, and they just run it. It's like a 6-point intersection
They just wing it. Hopefully, I don't die.
in the middle of
Good
rush
luck,
hour.
everybody.
They're just going for it.
For real.
Oh my gosh.
People are selfish.
Be responsible when you're driving, because not only your life is at risk.
Exactly.
Everybody in your car, everybody around you is also at risk.
Even if you trust yourself, you can't trust anybody
They have to start like testing older people like
I know.
65.
My-
65.
50?
My grandmother really needs to get her license taken away. She does. She wants to keep driving, and she thinks she can, but she really can't. actually.
I think the problem with
Oh.
that is that
Oh, yeah.
older people vote, and you don't want to tick off the voting population with the older people, so nothing gets done. You know.
I thought about that too. Like older people voting and stuff like that.
Restrict their voting. Vote also.
Voted enough.
Your opinion
Single law
doesn't matter
president.
anymore.
Y'all should just have a podcast of everyone on their phone registering to vote.
Yes.
Just making sure.
And being like, ah.
Don't do that, actually.
We want you to vote.
Please do it.
Vote
Vote.
now.
Your
The
vote.
power is in your
What
hands.
do you guys think of mail voting? Like the mail-in ballot?
Oh, I was gonna say males, females. I mean, I can see why people are upset, but I'm for it.
Yeah.
Like
As long
people
as
who are
it's right.
disabled and like can't get out of the house.
I think more people will probably vote.
I think it's scary how much false voting probably goes on that we don't know about.
Computer
Or
jobs.
illegal
The other
voting.
thing with the mail-in voting is like, you know, the guy who's taking it to them, like, how do I know you didn't switch it? So
Yeah.
it's just a weird, very weird. Even when we vote, normally
Yeah.
it's a strange thing.
Only 2 hours.
2 hours.
Well, do you think
Well-
we should wrap it up?
Well,
Does anybody else have anything to say?
I was gonna just say for the other ads too. The luxury spa. We'll have more information soon.
Can't wait to work with her more.
Yes,
Yes.
she's an esthetician. She does facials, waxes, massages, and much more. And then also the Symbol restaurant in Manchester, and there's one in Chesterfield too. You said Chesterfield. All healthy options. They have meat options, also vegan options. Super healthy alternative to just going out and getting lunch somewhere. They do also have kombucha. Yeah, it's really good, really good.
That's how you say it?
Kombucha, that's how I pronounce it.
Like
Kombucha.
that,
Kombucha?
okay, I call it.
It's probably
Huh.
kombucha.
Yeah,
I
kombucha.
just bought some the first time the
Which brand?
other day. Boy, was it gross.
Did it taste like vinegar?
Yeah, I had my girlfriend try it. She's like, this just smells and tastes like vinegar. I was like, well, look at the ingredients. There's no vinegar.
Isn't it fermented fruit?
It's I drank it and I was like, you know, this feels right.
Mhm.
I guess I should be drinking this, but I can't.
But I can't.
Apparently, you know, if you drink it fast enough, you can get like a buzz off it.
Really?
That's what she's doing it for. She's like, I don't know.
She's like, ooh.
Well, no, when I first
No, I
tried
think
it, I was,
kombucha does have probiotics.
Yeah,
Which would be good for
That's why I got it. But
I like kefir too. How do you say that? Kefir? Kefir?
kefir. I think that's something.
Kefir? Yeah, that stuff.
show the camera.
No, no.
you brought up that good belly last time. We went to Fresh Nine and I was like,
Good belly? Yeah, I
Culture?
like that. I love putting it in smoothies.
It sounds like yogurt with extra steps.
Yeah. I just literally just put it in my smoothie. It has protein. But it doesn't taste like vinegar. That's why I like this.
The first time I tried kombucha, whatever, I was at work and I just got it on my break. And I just remember reading the ingredient, or like the back of it, and it said like, warning, don't drink this if you're like pregnant or whatever. And I was like, there's alcohol. I'm like, am I gonna get in trouble for drinking this on the job?
I'll need you a copy.
Right.
It's not bad if you don't get caught.
yeah, I opened it and like started fizzing and I was like, is this normal?
What brand did you get?
No, it was that.
Was this Synergy?
Sir, don't ever get that one.
That
That's
one's
the
really
mustard
I got two
nasty.
different flavors. I still got to try the other one.
There's one I tried it was rose petal. That's really good, really fresh. You barely can taste that vinegar.
Yes.
I noticed you can't save it for later. that
No,
much
you have to
either.
drink. You have to just down it.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I was like, oh, I'll drink it tomorrow. And then I opened it, it was like, it like
Yeah.
popped open from all the gas, and I was like, yeah, I'm not drinking that. I don't know. Here's kind of an interesting thing that I like talking about that's medically inclined. And I kind of hinted toward it a couple times, but people craving their own treatment, like their body telling them that they want something, and then doing it. So I had a patient come in who had big swollen gland right here, and that's something called sialadenitis, which just means your saliva glands are swollen and infected, and sometimes there's something called sialithiasis, which means that there's a stone stuck inside the duct leading from the gland to where it comes out. Have you ever like accidentally like done that, like shooting venom looking thing, saliva, and you're like, what just happened? Yeah. So those get blocked, and so the treatment is mostly just Keflex, but there's a second treatment which is very interesting, and it's sour hard candies.
What?
Oh, is that why you
I've
get
heard
that
that.
like
Yeah.
feeling when you
And
like
it like
Yeah.
right
sour?
here.
Yep.
Yeah. So
You do
in
that shooting.
with the good, out with the bad. So it literally pushes the infection out
Wow.
by sucking on it, and of course the
So
lemon
it's
shooting
forcing
it
you to
out.
gleek.
Gleek.
Yeah, that's what it's called.
Gleeking.
I've never done it before.
I have.
People
it
People
was-
in middle
it was
school
on
used to do it all
someone.
the time.
I mean, middle
People would
school.
literally gleek other people.
Yeah, I know.
How do
I
they
remember
control
that.
People would eat the sour candy or gum, and they would gleek
Oh.
at people in the hallways.
Ew.
That's
weird.
a
I knew a
new
girl who
term
would
for
just
me.
do it.
Is that the shooting thing that you
Yeah.
can
Yeah,
do?
yeah.
Yeah.
You, like,
Okay,
shoot
I
it from the
can
roof
I
of
can
your
do
mouth
it,
and-
but I'm not gonna do it.
Yeah.
They try to make it into
Oh, gosh.
So I told him this, and they looked at me like, and I was like, okay, it's not that weird, guys. Like, it makes sense when you think about it. And he goes, no, like the girlfriend told me today, for no reason whatsoever, the patient, the guy, wanted to drink a sour slushy at Sonic.
Oh wow, his body was like.
And they don't never eat Sonic. They don't eat he doesn't eat sour slushies. But for some reason, he just had like almost pregnancy type craving for sour slushy
wow.
at Sonic. Which, if you think about it, the actual act of sucking up the fluid causes a negative pressure in the mouth and can pull the stones out itself. So, without knowing a single thing about anatomy, the body was like, this is what you need, go get it. And
Wow.
he self-treated.
Body's amazing.
It really is.
Yes.
Some people don't have great gut instincts, but some people do.
I feel like if you really tune into it, everyone kind of does have good gut instincts because our bodies naturally know. But some people just don't tune into it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I feel like you don't have too much.
Mhm.
It's like, I don't know, like when I'm cooking something healthy and yummy, like it's just like I just feel so happy about it.
So yeah, I like that story. It's like, yeah, it's all about your cravings and your body telling you. Very smart. Like the guy who wanted his leg to be pulled. He didn't know what manual traction was. He just knew
Something was.
something was off, and his body told him to do something. So he's telling people to pull his foot.
Well,
It's just how it goes.
Like those medieval turn things where it just stretches you.
oh god, ow. I want to be pulled all the time. You guys ready?
Yeah.
Close it up. Sign
Alright.
off. Well, yeah, this is Sammy signing off. I love you guys. Love yourself. Love your neighbor. Just do your thing.
This is Bree signing off. Stay positive and keep trucking through your journey. Because whatever you want, it's gonna happen. Just do it. Do it.
This is Darius. Take care of your mind, your soul, and your body, and eat at Symbol.
Symbol. Get their lemonade cucumber with agave. Sorry.
And yeah, just be nice to yourself. Be nice to other people.
This is Hunter signing off. Be nice to the environment. Be nice to those around you. Take care of those around you and yourself. And just remember to spread positivity everywhere you go, because it's a chain reaction. And just spread it across the world, man.
Okay, Trevor. Yeah, listen to your body. Listen to what it's telling you. Go to a doctor. Listen to them, and make sure you're healthy. Lifestyle changes really make a huge difference, and yeah, that's it.
Awesome.
So long, farewell to you, my friends. Goodbye for now, until we meet again. I said so long, farewell to you, my friends. Goodbye for now, until we meet again. Bye, guys.
Bring
Had
it
a great
to you
time.
every
See
week.
you. Bye.
That's a wrap.